Welcome, dear traveler, to a journey through time and mystery, following the traces of civilizations that once flourished and then vanished, leaving behind only ruins, legends and questions that echo across millennia. Tonight, as you settle into rest, we will explore the greatest disappearing acts in human history: cities swallowed by jungle, empires erased by catastrophe, cultures that thrived for centuries and then simply ceased to exist. We will examine the evidence they left behind, the legends that preserve their memory, and the scientific investigations that seek to understand their fate. This is a journey that requires balance. The lost civilizations we explore have inspired countless theories, from the rigorously scientific to the wildly speculative. We will walk this line carefully, acknowledging genuine mysteries, while respecting evidence, entertaining possibilities while avoiding unsupported claims, and honoring the actual achievements of real ancient peoples without mythologizing them beyond recognition. Some civilizations we discuss, like the Maya or the Mycenaeans, are lost only in the sense that they collapsed or transformed, leaving ruins that took centuries to rediscover and decipher. Others, like Atlantis or Lemuria, may never have existed as physical places, serving instead as philosophical constructs, misunderstood geological theories, or persistent cultural myths. But whether vanished empires or enduring legends, these lost civilizations reveal truths about human societies: how they rise through innovation and organization, how they sustain themselves through adaptation and resilience, and how they fall through environmental catastrophe, social collapse, or conquest. They teach us that no civilization, however powerful, is permanent. We begin with the most famous lost civilization of all, Atlantis. Described by Plato over 2,000 years ago, sought by explorers ever since, and never definitively found because it likely never existed as a physical place. But understanding why Atlantis captivates us, what Plato actually wrote, and what real places might have inspired his account, will illuminate both ancient history and modern psychology. From Atlantis, we will journey to the Indus Valley civilization, which thrived for 700 years and then mysteriously declined. We will explore the Maya cities abandoned to the jungle, the Mycenaean palaces destroyed by catastrophe, the Aksumite Empire erased from memory, and other genuine civilizations that rose to greatness and then fell into obscurity. We will examine Lemuria and Mu 19th century scientific hypotheses transformed into mystical lost continents, despite geological evidence proving they never existed. We will investigate Doggerland, a real lost land beneath the North Sea, drowned by rising seas after the last ice age. And we will consider what makes civilizations vulnerable to collapse and what allows some to endure. So breathe deeply, let your thoughts settle like sediment on an ancient seabed, and prepare to explore the borderlands between history and legend, evidence and imagination, the civilizations that genuinely vanished and the ones that never were. Let us begin in ancient Athens, around 360 BCE, where an aging philosopher named Plato composed a dialogue that would inspire searches, theories, and speculation for over 2 millennia: the story of Atlantis. No lost civilization has captured human imagination more powerfully than Atlantis. For over 2,000 years, explorers have searched for it, scholars have debated it, and countless theories have proposed its location, from the Mediterranean to the Atlantic Ocean, from Antarctica to the Sahara Desert, from the Caribbean to Indonesia. But before we can search for Atlantis, we must understand what we're searching for. And that requires returning to the only ancient source that describes it in any detail: the writings of the Athenian philosopher Plato. Atlantis appears in 2 of Plato's dialogues, Timaeus and Critias, both written around 360 BCE, when Plato was in his late 60s. In Timaeus, Plato has the character Critias, supposedly Plato's great-grandfather, recount a story told to his ancestor Solon by Egyptian priests. The story describes an ancient war between Athens and Atlantis, set 9,000 years before Solon's time, which would place it around 9600 BCE. According to this account, Atlantis was a powerful island empire, located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, the Strait of Gibraltar. The Atlanteans had conquered much of Europe and Africa, but were stopped by ancient Athens, which defeated them in war. Subsequently, Athens and Atlantis were both destroyed in a single catastrophic day and night, Athens by earthquakes and the Atlantean island by sinking beneath the waves. In Critias, Plato provides more detailed description of Atlantis, the geography, an island larger than Libya and Asia combined, meaning a very large landmass, with a fertile central plain surrounded by mountains. The capital city was built in concentric rings, alternating rings of land and water, with channels connecting them to the sea. The society, Atlantis, was founded by Poseidon, who fell in love with a mortal woman named Cleito. Their descendants ruled as kings, with 10 kingdoms dividing the island. The Atlanteans were initially virtuous and wise, but became corrupted by greed and power. The resources Atlantis possessed abundant natural resources, including a mysterious metal called orichalcum, second only to gold in value, diverse wildlife, and rich agriculture. The Atlanteans built magnificent temples, harbors, and palaces decorated with precious metals. The military Atlantis commanded a powerful navy and army, conquering territories across the Mediterranean and beyond. Their imperial ambitions brought them into conflict with Athens. The destruction when the Atlanteans became too corrupt and attacked Athens, the gods decided to punish them. Zeus called an assembly of gods to determine their fate, and here Critias ends abruptly, mid-sentence, never completing the story of Atlantis's destruction. Most Plato scholars agree that Atlantis was a literary invention, a philosophical thought experiment rather than a historical account. Several factors support this interpretation. The dialogues are philosophical works. Plato wrote dialogues to explore philosophical ideas: justice, virtue, the ideal state. He frequently used fictional narratives, myths, and allegories to illustrate philosophical points. The Atlantis story appears in works concerned with ideal societies and the corruption of states. The framing is suspicious. The story comes third-hand from Egyptian priests to Solon's relative to Critias to Socrates, Plato's philosophical mouthpiece. This chain of transmission reads like a literary device to give the story ancient authority, while distancing Plato from claiming it as literal truth. The moral is clear. Atlantis represents hubris and corruption, a civilization that began virtuously but declined morally and was punished by the gods. Athens represents virtue and justice, defending civilization against imperial aggression. This is a morality tale about the dangers of power and corruption, not a geography lesson. The contrasts are too perfect: Atlantis naval, imperial, corrupt versus Athens land-based, defensive, virtuous, creates a philosophical dichotomy that serves Plato's purposes too neatly to be coincidental history. No contemporary corroboration, no ancient source before Plato mentions Atlantis. If a civilization that large had existed and been destroyed so dramatically within human historical memory, we would expect other references. There are none. Plato's other myths: Plato used fictional narratives in other dialogues, the myth of in the Republic, the chariot allegory in Phaedrus, the cave allegory. Atlantis fits this pattern of using fiction to convey philosophical truth. Even if Atlantis was Plato's invention, he may have drawn inspiration from real events and places. The Minoan civilization, based on Crete and other Aegean islands. The Minoans circa 3000–1100 BCE were a sophisticated Bronze Age civilization with impressive palaces, advanced art, and extensive maritime trade. Around 1600 BCE, the volcanic island of Thera, modern Santorini, exploded in one of history's largest eruptions, devastating Minoan settlements and possibly contributing to Minoan decline. The parallels are striking: island civilization in the Mediterranean, advanced culture with impressive architecture, sudden catastrophic destruction involving volcanic activity, naval power and trade networks, eventual decline though not sudden disappearance. The eruption of Thera would have been catastrophic. The explosion ejected approximately 60 cubic kilometers of material. The caldera collapsed into the sea, and tsunamis struck nearby coasts. Archaeological evidence shows Minoan settlements on Thera were buried in ash, and coastal sites on Crete show tsunami damage. Could Plato have heard stories about this catastrophe and incorporated them into his Atlantis narrative? Possibly, though the timeline is wrong. Thera erupted around 1600 BCE, not 9600 BCE, and the location Aegean, not beyond Gibraltar. The Persian Wars. Plato lived in the aftermath of Athens's conflicts with the Persian Empire. The Persians, like the Atlanteans, were an imperial power that conquered extensive territories and threatened Greek independence. The Athenian-led Greek victory might have inspired Plato's narrative of virtuous Athens defeating powerful Atlantis. The Syracusan expedition. During Plato's lifetime, Athens launched a disastrous military expedition to conquer Syracuse in Sicily 415–413 BCE. The expedition failed catastrophically, with the Athenian fleet destroyed and survivors enslaved. This failure might have influenced Plato's meditation on hubris and the fall of powerful states. Natural disasters. The ancient Mediterranean experienced earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, tsunamis, and floods. Stories of catastrophic destructions would have been part of Greek cultural memory. Plato might have woven these into his narrative. What Plato probably created was a composite drawing on cultural memories of real disasters, contemporary political events, and his own philosophical imagination to craft a narrative serving his philosophical purposes. Despite scholarly consensus that Atlantis was Plato's invention, the search for a physical Atlantis has never ceased. Proposed locations include the Atlantic Ocean. Since Plato placed Atlantis beyond the Pillars of Hercules, some have searched the Atlantic. In the 19th century, Ignatius Donnelly proposed that Atlantis was a mid-Atlantic landmass that sank, leaving only island peaks, the Azores, Canary Islands, etc. Modern geology proves this is impossible. The Atlantic seafloor has been mapped using sonar, studied through deep-sea cores, and understood through plate tectonics theory. No continent-sized landmass has sunk in the Atlantic in human history. The mid-Atlantic ridge is a spreading center where new seafloor forms, not a sinking continent. The Mediterranean. Various locations have been proposed as Santorini/Thura as discussed, the island of Crete, Malta, Cyprus. Various submerged sites. While some of these had advanced ancient civilizations, none match Plato's description of size, location, or catastrophic single-day destruction. Antarctica. Some theories propose that Atlantis was Antarctica before it was ice-covered, supposedly shown on ancient maps. This theory, popularized by Charles Hapgood and Graham Hancock, claims Antarctica was ice-free and civilized until a pole shift around 10,000 BCE buried it in ice. Geological evidence completely refutes this. Antarctica has been ice-covered for millions of years. The ice sheet formed 34 million years ago. No pole shift occurred 10,000 years ago. The maps supposedly showing ice-free Antarctica actually show distorted coastlines of South America or theoretical landmasses. The Caribbean, particularly the Bahamas and Bimini, where underwater formations called the Bimini Road have been claimed as Atlantean ruins. Investigation shows these formations are natural becroc sound sedimentary rock formed in shallow water through natural cementation of sand. The regular appearance is due to natural fracture patterns, not human construction. The Sahara Desert. Some theories place Atlantis in the Richat structure in Mauritania, a geological formation with concentric rings resembling Plato's description. The Richat structure is a geological dome created by uplift and erosion, completely natural, not artificial. While visually similar to Plato's description, it's in the Sahara, not beyond Gibraltar, was never an island, and shows no evidence of ancient civilization. Indonesia. The Sunderland hypothesis proposes that Atlantis was in Southeast Asia, on landmasses now submerged by post-Ice Age sea level rise. While Sunderland, the exposed continental shelf during the Ice Age, did exist and was inundated by rising seas, calling it Atlantis is arbitrary. It doesn't match Plato's description of location, and the flooding was gradual over millennia, not sudden. The pattern in all these searches is to find something that partially matches Plato's description, concentric rings, or ocean location, or catastrophic destruction, and claim it as Atlantis while ignoring the many ways it doesn't match. If Atlantis was Plato's invention, why does the search continue 2,300 years later? Psychological appeal. Atlantis represents an idealized past, a golden age of advanced civilization destroyed by hubris. This narrative resonates with human desires for lost perfection and warnings about moral decline. Mystery and adventure. The possibility of undiscovered ancient civilization appeals to our sense of adventure and the excitement of potential discovery. Underdog narrative amateur researchers searching for Atlantis against skeptical academics creates an appealing David versus Goliath story. Confirmation bias. Once someone decides Atlantis must have existed, they interpret evidence selectively, embracing anything that might support it while dismissing contrary evidence. Cultural persistence. Over 2,000 years, Atlantis has become embedded in Western culture through countless retellings, adaptations, and references. It takes on a life beyond Plato's text. Esoteric and New Age traditions, theosophists, occultists, and New Age movements have adopted Atlantis as a mystical lost civilization, imbuing it with spiritual significance beyond Plato's philosophical allegory. The media amplification books, television shows, documentaries, and films about Atlantis are profitable, creating economic incentives to perpetuate the mystery regardless of evidence. How should we think about Atlantis responsibly? As literature and philosophy, Plato's Atlantis is a masterwork of philosophical fiction, a narrative crafted to explore ideas about justice, virtue, power, and the corruption of states. Appreciated this way, it's profound and valuable. As inspiration for real archaeology, while searching for literal Atlantis is misguided, the impulse has sometimes motivated legitimate archaeological discoveries. The search for Troy, inspired by Homer, led to real discoveries, though Troy wasn't exactly as Homer described it. As cultural mythology, Atlantis functions in modern culture as mythology, a shared story with symbolic meaning. Like other myths, it can be meaningful without being literally true. As a cautionary tale, the Atlantis story warns about hubris, environmental destruction, and moral corruption, lessons relevant to modern civilization facing climate change, resource depletion, and ethical challenges. What we should avoid. Claiming Atlantis was real requires dismissing vast archaeological and geological evidence, often involves pseudoscience and conspiracy theories, and can disrespect both Plato's actual intentions and the achievements of real ancient civilizations. While Atlantis captures imagination despite probably never existing, the Indus Valley civilization is a genuine lost civilization that thrived for 700 years, created sophisticated urban centers housing tens of thousands, and then mysteriously declined, yet remained largely unknown to modern scholarship until the 20th century. This Bronze Age civilization, contemporaneous with ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia, was in some ways more advanced than its better-known neighbors. Yet it left no massive pyramids, no towering ziggurats, no monumental statues to proclaim its greatness. Its cities were eventually buried by sediment and forgotten, its script remains undeciphered, and the causes of its decline remain debated. In the 1920s, archaeologists excavating in the Indus River Valley in modern Pakistan and northwestern India uncovered extensive remains of an ancient civilization previously unknown to modern scholarship. The major sites included Harappa in Punjab, Pakistan, discovered in the 1820s, but not recognized as an ancient city until proper excavations in the 1920s. The site had been damaged by brick robbers who quarried ancient bricks for railroad construction, destroying parts of the city before archaeologists could study them. Mohenjo-Daro Mound of the Dead in Sindhi, the largest and best preserved Indus city, discovered in 1922. Excavations revealed sophisticated urban planning with grid-patterned streets, advanced drainage systems, and multi-story buildings. Doggerland in Gujarat, India, a later discovery 1968, showing that Indus cities existed far from the Indus River itself, across a wide region. Over 1,000 Indus Valley sites have now been identified, ranging from major cities to small villages, covering an area larger than ancient Egypt or Mesopotamia. The Indus Valley civilization, also called Harappan civilization, flourished from approximately 300 to 1300 BCE, with its mature phase from 2600 to 1900 BCE. At its peak, the civilization covered approximately 1.25 million square kilometers, with major cities housing 30,000 to 40,000 people, and total population estimated at 4–5 million. The urban planning was remarkably advanced. Grid-patterned streets, Cities were laid out in organized grid patterns with main streets running north-south and east-west, intersected by smaller streets and alleys. This planned layout contrasts with the organic growth of many ancient cities. Drainage systems, perhaps the most impressive feature, was sophisticated drainage. Houses had bathrooms and toilets connected to covered drains running along streets. The drains were constructed with precisely fitted bricks, with manholes for maintenance. This sanitation system was unmatched in the ancient world. Standardization bricks across the civilization were made in standard ratios 1:4, suggesting centralized planning or strong cultural norms. Weights and measures were also standardized across vast distances. The Great Bath at Mohenjo-Daro, a large public water tank 12 m x 7 m, 2.4 m deep, made watertight with bitumen sealant. Its purpose is uncertain, possibly ritual bathing, possibly a public bath. Citadel and lower cities typically had a raised citadel area, possibly administrative and religious, and a lower residential area, suggesting some social hierarchy. The Indus Valley economy was based on agriculture and trade. Wheat, barley, peas, dates, and melons were grown. Evidence suggests they practiced irrigation. Cotton was cultivated, possibly the earliest cotton farming in the world. Animal husbandry, cattle, buffalo, sheep, goats, and chickens were domesticated. The unicorn seal, showing a one-horned creature, might depict a bull shown in profile, though its exact identity is debated. Crafts. Indus artisans produced pottery, beads, carnelian, lapis lazuli, steatite, copper and bronze tools and weapons, and intricate seals. Trade. Indus goods have been found in Mesopotamia, and Mesopotamian goods in Indus sites, proving long-distance trade networks. Trade was likely both overland through Persia and maritime through the Persian Gulf. No monumental architecture. Unlike Egypt or Mesopotamia, the Indus civilization built no massive temples, palaces, or pyramids. The largest structures are public baths and granaries, utilitarian rather than monumental. This absence raises questions. Did the Indus civilization lack powerful rulers who could command monumental projects? Was their religion different, not requiring massive temples? Did they allocate resources to practical infrastructure, drainage, housing rather than monuments? We don't know. Perhaps the greatest mystery of the Indus civilization is its script, found on thousands of seals, pottery, and other objects, but never deciphered. The script consists of approximately 400–600 distinct signs. Most inscriptions are short, typically 5–6 signs, with the longest containing about 26 signs. The challenge of decipherment stems from short texts, insufficient material for statistical analysis that has worked for other scripts. Unknown language. We don't know what language the script represents. No bilingual texts, unlike the Rosetta Stone, which had the same text in Egyptian hieroglyphs, Demotic, and Greek. No Indus Greek or Indus Mesopotamian bilingual texts exist. Symbolic versus linguistic debate exists whether the script represents language at all, or is purely symbolic notation. Attempted decipherments have been numerous, but none has gained scholarly consensus. Claims range from the script representing an early Dravidian language. Dravidian languages are now spoken in southern India. An Indo-European language. A language isolate with no modern relatives. Not language at all, but symbolic representations. Until the script is deciphered, we can't know the Indus people's names for themselves, their gods, their kings if they had kings, their poetry, their laws, or their history in their own words. We know them only through archaeology, material culture, without the voices of the people who created it. Without texts, we infer Indus religion and society from archaeology, possible religious practices. The Great Bath suggests ritual bathing may have been important. Figurines of females, sometimes called mother goddess figures, though this interpretation is debated, might indicate fertility cult or female deities. Animal motifs on seals, bulls, elephants, tigers, mythical composite creatures might have religious significance. Fire altars found at some sites suggest fire rituals later important in Vedic religion. Social structure, the presence of citadels and differentiation in house sizes suggests some hierarchy. But the lack of monuments, extreme wealth concentrations, or clear royal tombs suggests less pronounced hierarchy than Egypt or Mesopotamia. Some scholars propose the Indus had a more egalitarian or merchant oligarchy structure rather than divine kingship. No evidence of warfare, few weapons have been found. Cities show no fortification walls for the most part, no depictions of warfare or battles. This absence is puzzling. Was the Indus civilization unusually peaceful? Did they have different forms of conflict resolution? Is the evidence simply not preserved? Around 1900 BCE, the Indus Valley civilization began to decline. By 1300 BCE, the major cities were largely abandoned, and the civilization's distinctive features, writing, standardization, urban planning, had disappeared. What caused this decline? Several theories have been proposed. Theory 1. Aryan invasion. An older theory proposed that Indo-European-speaking peoples Aryans invaded around 1500 BCE, conquering the Indus civilization. This theory is now largely rejected. The timeline is wrong. Decline began before proposed invasions. No archaeological evidence of mass violence or invasion exists. The invasion has been reframed as gradual migration and cultural interaction rather than conquest. Theory 2. Climate change and river changes. The most widely accepted theory involves environmental factors. Climate change may have reduced monsoon rainfall, making agriculture more difficult. The Indus and its tributaries may have changed course due to tectonic activity or flooding. The Ghaggar-Hakra River, which many Indus cities relied on, may have dried up or changed course. These changes would have disrupted agriculture and made cities unsustainable. Theory 3. Epidemic disease. Some evidence suggests epidemic disease may have struck. Unburied bodies found at Mohenjo-Daro initially suggested sudden disaster, though this interpretation is debated. Theory 4. Internal social collapse. Political or social problems, civil conflict, breakdown of trade networks, or loss of centralized organization may have caused decline from within. Theory 5. Combination. Most likely, multiple factors combined. Environmental stress made societies vulnerable. Economic problems followed, social structures broke down, and populations migrated to more sustainable areas. The decline was gradual, not sudden. Cities were progressively abandoned over several centuries. People didn't disappear, they dispersed to smaller settlements, and Indus cultural elements continued in modified form in later South Asian cultures. Though the Indus Valley civilization declined, its people and some cultural elements persisted. The population likely dispersed, with some migrating east toward the Ganges Valley, others moving south into peninsular India. Cultural continuity. Some Indus cultural elements, city planning concepts, use of certain symbols, possibly religious ideas, may have influenced later Indian civilization, though direct connections are hard to prove without texts. Modern descendants, the people of Pakistan and northwestern India, are likely partly descended from Indus Valley populations, though genetic studies show complex patterns of migration and mixing over millennia. The lessons. The Indus Valley demonstrates that civilizations can be sophisticated without monumental architecture. Urban planning and practical infrastructure can be advanced. Environmental changes can bring down even well-organized societies. The absence of writing or undeciphered writing creates vast gaps in our knowledge. The Indus Valley civilization is a genuinely lost civilization, not mythical like Atlantis, but real, sophisticated, and largely forgotten until modern archaeology recovered it. Its cities lie in ruins, its script remains mysterious, and we see it only through the fragmentary lens of material remains. Yet, in its silent ruins and undeciphered seals, it speaks to human capability across time and reminds us that civilizations we know were not the only ones achieving sophisticated organization, technological innovation, and urban development in the ancient world. The Maya civilization of Mesoamerica represents a paradox in the study of lost civilizations. We know a great deal about Maya culture. We can read their inscriptions, understand their mathematics and astronomy, trace their history and dynasties. Yet dozens of Maya cities were mysteriously abandoned, swallowed by jungle, and lost to memory until modern rediscovery. The Maya weren't a single empire but a collection of city-states sharing language, culture, and beliefs, flourishing across modern southern Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, and parts of Honduras and El Salvador from approximately 2000 BCE to the Spanish conquest in the 16th century CE. The greatest Maya mystery is the classic period collapse, the abandonment of major cities in the southern lowlands between approximately 800 and 900 CE. At their peak circa 250-800 CE, the classic period, Maya cities like Tikal, Palenque, Capan, and Calakmul housed tens of thousands of people, featured massive stone pyramids and palaces, and engaged in complex political relationships involving warfare, alliances, and trade. Then, over about a century, these cities were progressively abandoned, monumental construction ceased. Populations declined dramatically. Political institutions collapsed. The sophisticated cultural achievements, hieroglyphic writing, calendar keeping, architectural innovation declined or disappeared in the affected regions. The abandonment was not universal. Northern Maya cities like Chichen Itza and Xmel continued to flourish for centuries after the southern collapse. Coastal cities also survived. The collapse affected primarily the southern lowland interior. What caused this collapse? Decades of research have identified multiple contributing factors. Environmental degradation and deforestation analysis of lake sediments shows intense deforestation around Maya cities during the classic period. Trees were cut for construction, for fuel to make lime plaster used extensively in buildings, and to clear land for agriculture. Deforestation caused soil erosion, reduced rainfall. Trees contribute to local rain through evapotranspiration, and made agriculture more difficult. Pollen records show landscape changes from forest to grassland in areas around abandoned cities. Climate change, severe droughts, analysis of sediment cores, cave formations, speleothems, and other climate proxies shows severe, prolonged droughts occurred during the collapse period. The droughts weren't constant but came in waves, multi-year dry periods interspersed with normal or wet years. These droughts would have made agriculture extremely difficult in regions dependent on rain-fed farming. Drought combined with deforestation created a feedback loop. Less forest meant less rain, which made recovery harder. Overpopulation and agricultural intensification. Maya populations grew substantially during the late classic period. To feed growing populations, Maya farmers intensified agriculture, terracing hillsides, draining wetlands, shortening fallow periods. These intensive techniques can degrade soil over time and become unsustainable. When drought struck, the agricultural system that had been pushed to its limits couldn't handle the additional stress. Warfare and political instability. Maya inscriptions and archaeological evidence show increased warfare during the terminal classic period. As resources became scarce due to environmental stress, competition between city-states intensified. Trade networks broke down as warfare disrupted routes. Political legitimacy of rulers depended partly on their ability to ensure prosperity during prolonged crises. Rulers lost legitimacy and authority. Social stress and internal conflict. Skeletal evidence shows declining health and nutrition during the collapse period. The gap between elite and common people may have widened, creating social tensions. As crises deepened, social cohesion may have broken down, with populations fragmenting or migrating. The decline process as the collapse wasn't a single catastrophic event, but a cascading failure over decades. Environmental stress, drought, deforestation made agriculture difficult. Food shortages led to malnutrition and social stress. Political instability increased as rulers couldn't solve crises. Warfare intensified over dwindling resources. Trade networks collapsed, cutting off external resources. Populations declined through mortality, reduced birth rates, and outmigration. Fewer people meant less labor for agriculture and construction. Institutions broke down as populations fell below critical thresholds. Cities were progressively abandoned as remaining populations moved to rural areas or migrated to regions less affected by crisis. The process was geographically variable. Some cities collapsed suddenly, others declined gradually over generations. Some areas recovered partially before final abandonment, others were abandoned and never reoccupied. After abandonment, jungle reclaimed the cities. Within centuries, massive stone temples were covered by vegetation, walls were split by tree roots, and plazas became forests. Spanish conquistadors in the 16th century encountered Maya peoples but not the great classic period cities, which were already long abandoned and overgrown. The European rediscovery began in the 19th century. John Lloyd Stephens and Frederick Catherwood explored Maya ruins in the 1840s, publishing books with Catherwood's detailed illustrations that brought Maya civilization to wider attention. The ruins were so impressive that initial European theories couldn't accept indigenous Americans had built them. Theories attributed them to lost tribes of Israel, refugees from Atlantis, or ancient Phoenicians, anything but the actual ancestors of living Maya people. Scientific archaeology in the 20th century established the true story through decipherment of Maya hieroglyphic writing, achieved primarily in the 1950s-1980s. Radiocarbon dating establishing chronologies. Systematic excavation revealing city layouts, populations, and cultural practices. Integration of archaeological, textual, and environmental evidence. Major Maya cities that were lost to jungle and later rediscovered include Tikal, Guatemala, one of the largest Maya cities, with a peak population of perhaps 60,000–90,000. The site covers 16 square kilometers of plazas, temples, palaces, and residential areas. Abandoned around 9 CE, it was rediscovered in the 19th century. Modern survey using LiDAR laser mapping from aircraft has revealed that Tikal was far larger than previously thought, with extensive suburbs and agricultural systems. Palenque, Mexico, a sophisticated city known for intricate hieroglyphic texts and beautiful architecture, including the Temple of the Inscriptions containing the tomb of Kayinish Janab Pakal, one of Palenque's greatest rulers. The site was largely abandoned by 9 CE. Capan, Honduras, famous for its hieroglyphic stairway, the longest Maya hieroglyphic text, intricate sculptures, and the detailed dynastic history preserved in inscriptions. Capan collapsed earlier than most cities, around 800 CE. Calakmul, Mexico, a major power that rivaled Tikal, with over 120 stele stone monuments recording its history. The site contains over 6,000 structures, most still unexcavated and covered by jungle. El Mirador, Guatemala, perhaps the largest pre-classic Maya city, flourishing 600 BCE, 100 CE, with massive pyramids including La Danta, one of the largest pyramids in the world by volume. Abandoned long before the classic period, it was lost for over a millennium. Modern technology is revealing the true extent of Maya civilization. LiDAR surveys using laser pulses to map terrain beneath forest canopy have revolutionized Maya archaeology. Surveys of the Maya lowlands have revealed tens of thousands of previously unknown structures, extensive agricultural terracing and water management systems, defensive walls and fortifications, raised road network Sakbiab connecting cities. Urban populations far larger than previously estimated. The 2018 survey covering 2,100 square kilometers revealed over 61,000 structures, suggesting Maya lowland population at its peak may have been 10–15 million, far higher than previous estimates. These discoveries show the Maya civilization was denser, more urbanized, and more environmentally modified than previously realized, which makes the collapse more dramatic, but also more comprehensible. Higher populations meant greater environmental stress. The Maya people didn't disappear. Approximately 7 million Maya speakers live today in Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, and Honduras, maintaining cultural traditions with roots extending back millennia. After the collapse, populations dispersed to smaller settlements. Some migrated to the northern Yucatan, where cities like Chichen Itza flourished for centuries. Cultural continuity maintained many Maya traditions despite political changes. When Spanish arrived in the 16th century, Maya societies still existed, though they were not the great classic period city-states. The Spanish conquest was devastating. Disease, warfare, and colonial oppression reduced Maya populations drastically. But Maya cultural survival is remarkable. Languages, traditions, and identity have persisted through conquest, colonialism, and modernization. Unlike the genuinely lost civilizations we've explored, Lemuria and Mu are fascinating examples of how scientific hypotheses can be misunderstood, transformed by mysticism, and perpetuated as myths despite geological evidence proving they never existed. Understanding Lemuria and Mu requires tracing how legitimate 19th century science was hijacked by occultism, how continental drift theory rendered the original hypothesis obsolete, and why these phantom continents persist in fringe theories despite conclusive scientific refutation. The story begins not with lost civilizations, but with lemurs, the primates native to Madagascar. In 1864, British zoologist Philip Sclater noticed a peculiar biogeographic pattern. Lemur fossils were found in Madagascar and India, but not in Africa or the Middle East between them. How could lemurs reach two places separated by ocean without appearing in the lands between? Before plate tectonics theory, continental positions were thought to be fixed. Sclater proposed a now submerged land bridge that once connected Madagascar, India, and possibly Southeast Asia, allowing lemurs to migrate. He named this hypothetical landmass Lemuria. This was legitimate science in 1864, attempting to explain biogeographic puzzles with the knowledge available. Other scientists proposed similar land bridges to explain animal distributions. Gondwana linking southern continents was another hypothesis. The theory was adopted by some evolutionists, including Ernst Haeckel, who proposed Lemuria as a possible location for human origins, since no early human fossils had yet been found. But plate tectonics developed in the 1960s explained these patterns without requiring sunken land bridges. Madagascar and India were once connected as part of Gondwana, a supercontinent that existed over 100 million years ago. Continental drift separated them. Lemurs evolved on this connected landmass, and when it fragmented, lemur populations were isolated in Madagascar and later extinct in India. No land bridge is needed. Continental movement explains the pattern. Geological evidence confirms this. The seafloor between Madagascar and India is deep ocean crust formed by seafloor spreading, not a sunken continent. No remnants of a Lemurian continent exist. Scientific Lemuria was thus a hypothesis rendered obsolete by better understanding of geology. But before it died scientifically, it was transformed by occultism. Helena Blavatsky, founder of Theosophy, a 19th century spiritual movement, seized on Lemuria in her writings, particularly The Secret Doctrine, 1888. Blavatsky's Lemuria bore no resemblance to Sclater's zoological hypothesis. She claimed Lemuria was a vast continent in the Indian and Pacific Oceans. It was inhabited by the third root race, a spiritually advanced humanity. Lemurians were initially hermaphroditic, later separating into male and female. They were giant, egg-laying beings who gradually became more physical. Lemuria was destroyed in catastrophes, sinking beneath the ocean. Survivors fled to Atlantis, founding the fourth root race. Blavatsky claimed this information came from mystical sources, ancient texts accessible only to spiritual adepts, channeled knowledge from Mahatmas, and clairvoyant visions. No evidence supported any of this. Blavatsky's Lemuria was pure invention, mixing garbled science, misunderstood religious concepts from multiple traditions, and occult imagination. Why did it succeed? Several factors. It provided an origin story for humanity alternative to both biblical creation and purely materialistic evolution. It fit the late 19th century fascination with lost civilizations and ancient mysteries. It offered esoteric knowledge accessible only to the spiritually advanced, appealing to desires for secret wisdom. It was vague and unfalsifiable. No specific evidence could disprove spiritual claims about a civilization millions of years gone. Despite geological proof that Lemuria never existed as a continent, the concept persists in New Age spirituality. Lemuria is claimed as a spiritually advanced civilization, sometimes conflated with or distinguished from Atlantis. Believers claim Lemurian crystals, Lemurian consciousness, and channeled Lemurian teachings. Fringe archaeology. Some claim Lemuria was in the Pacific, and Pacific Island cultures, Polynesian, Easter Island, etc., are Lemurian remnants. These claims ignore the Pacific seafloor is mapped. No sunken continent exists. Pacific islands are volcanic or coral, not continental fragments. Pacific cultures have well-documented histories and origins. No archaeological evidence supports Lemurian civilization. Parallel to Lemuria, another phantom continent called Mu was invented, with an even more transparently fraudulent origin. Augustus Laplangen, a 19th century photographer and amateur archaeologist, claimed in the 1860s to have translated Maya inscriptions describing Mu, a lost Pacific continent. Laplangen's translations were completely wrong. He didn't understand Maya writing, which wasn't deciphered until the 20th century. His translations were pure invention. Despite this, James Churchward elaborated the Mu myth in a series of books starting in the 1920s, claiming Mu was a continent in the Pacific Ocean. It was the motherland of man, where humanity originated. It had an advanced civilization 50,000 years ago. It was destroyed in a cataclysm 12,000 years ago. Its survivors spread across the world, founding other civilizations. Churchward claimed his information came from ancient tablets shown to him by an Indian priest, from Easter Island tablets, and from various ancient sources. No evidence has ever been produced. The tablets were never shown to other researchers. The Easter Island Rongorongo script remains undeciphered, so Churchward's translations are fabrications. The geological evidence is clear. No Pacific continent has sunk in human history. Modern oceanography has thoroughly mapped the Pacific. The seafloor is oceanic crust basalt formed at mid-ocean ridges through volcanic activity, not continental granite. Seamounts underwater mountains exist but are volcanic, not drowned mountain ranges from a sinking continent. Island chains like Hawaii are volcanic, formed as the Pacific plate moves over mantle hotspots, not continental remnants. Deep-sea drilling has sampled the Pacific seafloor, its young oceanic crust less than 200 million years old, not ancient continental crust. Plate tectonics explains Pacific features without requiring sunken continents. The Pacific plate is being subducted under surrounding plates. It's shrinking, not rising and sinking. No geological mechanism exists for a continent-sized landmass to sink rapidly. Continental crust is too buoyant to subduct. The idea of a continent sinking in a geological instant is physically impossible. Lemuria and Mu persist despite geological refutation because they serve psychological needs. The idea of lost advanced civilizations offers alternative origin stories, suggests ancient wisdom worth recovering, and provides exotic mystery. They're unfalsifiable. In practice, believers can always claim the evidence is too deep, too destroyed, or suppressed by mainstream science. They're tied to spiritual beliefs. For many, Lemuria/Mu are spiritual truths, not physical places. Questioning them is questioning deeply held beliefs. They're commercially viable books, workshops, tours, and products related to Lemuria/Mu are profitable. They're part of cultural mythology like Atlantis. Lemuria and Mu have become part of Western esoteric tradition, passed down regardless of evidence. Scientifically, Lemuria and Mu as lost continents are completely disproven. No geological evidence supports them, and plate tectonics theory explains biogeographic patterns without requiring sunken landmasses. Historically, the concepts originated in misunderstood science. Sclater's land bridge and fraudulent claims, Laplangen's fake translations, then were elaborated by occultists for spiritual rather than scientific purposes. Culturally, as modern myths, Lemuria and Mu reveal human desires for lost golden ages, secret knowledge, and spiritual origins. Psychologically interesting even if factually false. Ethically, Lemurian/Mu theories sometimes denigrate actual Pacific and Indian Ocean cultures by claiming their achievements derive from lost white or extraterrestrial civilizations rather than from the peoples themselves. The lesson: we must distinguish between legitimate scientific hypotheses which change with new evidence, cultural mythology which has symbolic rather than literal truth, and fraudulent claims which should be rejected. Lemuria and Mu belong in the latter two categories, not the first. Here we pause in our exploration of lost civilizations. We have examined Atlantis, Plato's philosophical invention, transformed into the most famous lost civilization, despite never existing physically. We have explored the genuinely lost Indus Valley civilization, sophisticated and urban yet leaving undeciphered writing and mysterious decline. We have traced the Maya cities abandoned to jungle, their collapse driven by environmental stress and social breakdown. And we have exposed Lemuria and Mu as phantom continents, scientific hypotheses misunderstood and mystified despite geological proof they never existed. As you drift toward sleep, imagine archaeologists hacking through jungle to reveal a Maya temple, its stones carved with hieroglyphs telling stories we can now read. Picture Indus Valley citizens bathing in the Great Bath at Mohenjo-Daro, conducting rituals we can only guess at in a language we cannot decipher. See Plato in his Academy, crafting the Atlantis story to illustrate philosophical truths, unknowing it would inspire millennia of searching. The line between genuine lost civilizations and mythical ones is sometimes clear, sometimes blurred by time, incomplete evidence, and human desire for mystery. When we continue, we will explore more vanished empires, some well-documented, others barely remembered, seeking to understand what makes civilizations vulnerable to collapse, and what allows some to endure in memory while others are forgotten. But for now, rest. The lost cities sleep beneath jungle and sand, beneath ocean waves and modern cities. Their stones remain, their inscriptions wait to be read, and the lessons of their rise and fall echo across centuries. Unlike the mythical continents of Atlantis, Lemuria, and Mu, Doggerland was a real landmass that genuinely existed and was genuinely lost, drowned by rising seas following the last ice age. This wasn't a civilization in the conventional sense, but a vast inhabited landscape that connected Britain to continental Europe, supporting Mesolithic hunter-gatherer populations for thousands of years before its progressive inundation. Understanding Doggerland reveals how post-glacial climate change transformed geography, how real lost lands differ from fantasy, and how our understanding of prehistory continues to expand through careful scientific investigation. During the last glacial maximum, approximately 20,000 years ago, when ice sheets covered much of northern Europe and North America, global sea levels were about 120 meters (390 feet) lower than today. The water locked in ice sheets left continental shelves exposed as dry land. In the North Sea, the relatively shallow seabed between Britain and continental Europe was dry land, a low-lying plain with rivers, lakes, hills, and coastlines extending far beyond today's shorelines. Doggerland, named after Doggerbank, a shallow area in the North Sea where fishing trawlers frequently caught ancient artifacts, encompassed an area roughly the size of modern Britain, connecting what are now the British Isles to Denmark, the Netherlands, Germany, and the Baltic region. The landscape was varied river valleys where major European rivers Rhine, Thames, Meuse merged into a single large river system flowing north. Hills and uplands providing diverse topography. Lakes and wetlands, particularly as melting ice created freshwater bodies. Forests of pine, birch, and hazel as climate warmed. Coastal areas along what was then the Atlantic shoreline far to the west. Tundra in earlier periods, transitioning to temperate woodland as climate warmed. This was not a civilization with cities and monuments, but a vast inhabitable landscape supporting scattered hunter-gatherer populations who moved seasonally, exploiting diverse resources, hunting deer, aurochs, and wild boar, fishing in rivers and along coasts, gathering nuts, berries, and plants. Archaeological evidence confirms human presence in Doggerland. Stone tools have been dredged from the North Sea, flint implements, harpoon points, and other artifacts from Mesolithic cultures approximately 10,000 to 6,000 years ago. Animal bones from extinct megafauna and Ice Age species have been found alongside tools, proving human contemporary habitation. A single human skull fragment was recovered in 2013, the lemon and oar bone, found in trawler nets, dating to approximately 11,500 years ago. This represents direct evidence of human remains from Doggerland. Preserved landscapes have been mapped using seismic surveys and sonar. Buried river valleys, ancient coastlines, and topographic features reveal Doggerland's geography in remarkable detail. Who were these people? They were Mesolithic hunter-gatherers, part of broader European populations adapting to post-glacial warming. They likely spoke languages unrelated to modern European languages, which arrived later with farming populations. They moved seasonally, following game and fish, gathering plant foods, and maintaining social networks across vast territories. Their material culture was sophisticated, carefully crafted stone tools, knowledge of edible and medicinal plants, hunting techniques adapted to various prey, and seasonal movement patterns optimizing resource availability across the year. Population density was low, perhaps a few thousand people across the entire Doggerland landscape at any given time, living in small mobile bands of extended families, meeting periodically for social, marriage, and trading purposes. Doggerland wasn't destroyed in a single catastrophic event, unlike mythical Atlantis, but was progressively inundated over thousands of years as post-glacial sea level rise proceeded. The timeline: 20,000 to 15,000 years ago. Ice sheets began melting as climate warmed, sea levels began rising slowly. Doggerland was fully exposed, dry land 15,000 to 10,000 years ago. Accelerated melting raised sea levels more rapidly. The North Sea began to form as water encroached from the north. Doggerland was still largely intact but shrinking 10,000 to 8,000 years ago. Continued sea level rise progressively drowned lower areas. Doggerland fragmented into islands and peninsulas. Rivers became estuaries. Coastal communities had to adapt or migrate. 8,200 years ago, a significant event occurred: the Storegga Slide, a massive underwater landslide off Norway's coast, generated a tsunami that struck Doggerland's remaining coasts and Britain and Norway. While this was catastrophic locally, it didn't destroy Doggerland. The land was already mostly submerged by this point. 7,000 to 6,000 years ago, the final remnants of Doggerland disappeared beneath the waves. Britain became fully separated from the continent. The North Sea took approximately its modern form. The process was gradual. From a human perspective, generations would notice coasts slowly advancing inland, low-lying areas becoming marshes, rivers widening into estuaries. Communities would adapt by moving to higher ground, shifting settlement patterns, and eventually migrating away as habitable land shrank. But it was catastrophic. In aggregate, an entire landscape was lost, populations were displaced, and the geography of Europe was fundamentally altered. The modern investigation. Our understanding of Doggerland has expanded dramatically through modern marine archaeology and geological techniques. Seismic surveys, originally developed for oil and gas exploration, seismic imaging of North Sea sediments reveals buried landscapes beneath the sea floor, ancient river channels, lake beds, coastal features preserved in sediment layers. Multi-beam bathymetry sonar mapping of the seabed shows topography in detail, revealing submerged features that match expected Doggerland geography. Sediment cores. Drilling into the seabed and extracting sediment cores allows analysis of pollen revealing past vegetation, microfossils indicating coastal versus terrestrial environments, and organic materials that can be radiocarbon dated. Trawler finds. Commercial fishing vessels continue to dredge up artifacts and bones, providing a steady stream of finds though lacking archaeological context. These are less scientifically valuable than systematically excavated material. The Europe's Lost Frontiers Project, a research collaboration mapping Doggerland systematically, creating detailed reconstructions of its geography at different time periods, modeling how sea level rise proceeded, and identifying potential archaeological sites for investigation. The challenges of underwater archaeology are substantial. Doggerland sites are buried under meters of marine sediment. The North Sea environment is harsh, strong currents, limited visibility, cold temperatures. Commercial fishing and shipping create legal and practical access issues. Funding for underwater archaeology is limited compared to terrestrial projects. Despite these challenges, our picture of Doggerland is becoming clearer. We can now visualize its landscapes, understand its ecology, track its inundation, and recognize it as a significant part of prehistoric European geography rather than a footnote. Doggerland's loss had profound consequences for European prehistory. Britain's isolation. Before Doggerland's inundation, Britain was connected to the continent. People, animals, and ideas could move freely. After inundation, Britain became an island, isolated from continental developments. This shaped British prehistory. The arrival of agriculture, later migrations, and cultural developments occurred via sea crossings rather than overland movement. Population movements. As Doggerland shrank, populations had to migrate. Some moved to what became Britain, others to continental Europe. These migrations may have contributed to genetic and cultural patterns visible in later European populations. Resource loss. Doggerland's diverse landscapes, river valleys, forests, coasts supported substantial resources. Their loss represented the disappearance of hunting territories, fishing grounds, and gathering areas that populations depended on. Cultural impact. The progressive loss of land must have been culturally significant. Oral traditions might have preserved memories of places lost to the sea, territories once accessible now submerged, and landscapes that ancestors knew but descendants could no longer visit. While Doggerland's overall inundation was gradual, one event stands out as genuinely catastrophic: the Storegga Slide tsunami around 8,200 years ago. The Storegga Slide was a massive underwater landslide on the Norwegian continental shelf, an area of seabed approximately 290 kilometers long and 3,200 cubic kilometers in volume slid into deeper water, displacing an enormous volume of ocean and generating a tsunami. The tsunami struck the coasts of Norway with wave heights estimated at 10-12 meters, Scotland waves up to 6 meters or more, the remaining Doggerland islands and coasts with devastating effect, Denmark and southern North Sea coasts. Evidence of the tsunami includes sediment deposits on coastal Scotland showing marine sediments deposited far inland and above normal sea level, characteristic of tsunami deposits. Radiocarbon dating of these deposits to approximately 8,200 years ago. Geological evidence of the slide itself off Norway. For Doggerland's inhabitants, this would have been catastrophic: coastal communities destroyed, fishing boats lost, settlements inundated. However, by 8,200 years ago, Doggerland was already largely submerged. The tsunami struck the remaining islands and the newly formed British and continental coasts, but it didn't sink. Doggerland's sea level rise had already done most of that. The tsunami's cultural impact might have been preserved in oral traditions, memories of a great wave that struck the coasts, destroyed settlements, and transformed landscapes. Some researchers have speculated whether such memories, passed down through millennia, might have contributed to later flood myths. This is highly speculative, but the possibility that catastrophic natural events can be preserved in cultural memory for thousands of years is supported by some evidence, like Australian Aboriginal traditions, describing now submerged coastal features. Doggerland has captured public imagination as a real Atlantis, a genuinely lost land that was inhabited and then drowned by rising seas. The comparison to Atlantis is tempting, but ultimately superficial similarities. Both are submerged lands, once inhabited, now beneath the waves. Differences: Doggerland was never a civilization, no cities or monuments. Its inundation was gradual over millennia, not sudden, and it's a scientifically documented geological reality, not a philosophical myth. Novels, documentaries, and popular accounts sometimes exaggerate Doggerland, imagining cities, advanced cultures, or sudden catastrophic destruction. The reality is more prosaic, but still fascinating: a landscape of hunter-gatherers gradually adapting to rising seas over thousands of years. The value of Doggerland as a case study is precisely that it's real. We can study actual geological processes, real climate change impacts, genuine human responses to environmental transformation, providing insights without the speculation and fantasy that plagued discussions of Atlantis. Doggerland teaches several important lessons. Sea level rise is real and impactful, while gradual on human timescales, millimeters per year. Over centuries and millennia, it transforms geography, displaces populations, and reshapes ecosystems. Climate change has profound consequences. The post-glacial warming that melted ice sheets and raised sea levels fundamentally altered human geography, forcing adaptations and migrations. Loss doesn't mean mythical. Real places can be lost to natural processes, become submerged, and be forgotten, but they remain discoverable through scientific investigation. Gradual change accumulates. The loss of Doggerland happened slowly enough that each generation might barely notice. Yet over centuries, an entire landscape disappeared. This is relevant to modern climate change. where gradual processes produce revolutionary results over time. Archaeology can recover lost landscapes through remote sensing, sediment analysis, and careful investigation. Science can reconstruct places that no longer exist, revealing prehistory invisible from terrestrial archaeology alone. The Mycenaean civilization of Bronze Age Greece, approximately 1100 BCE, represents a genuinely lost civilization that was forgotten so completely that Homer's epic poems, set in the Mycenaean period, were considered pure fiction until 19th century archaeology proved the civilization real. The Mycenaeans built impressive palace complexes, developed early Greek writing Linear B, traded across the Mediterranean, and were probably the Greeks who fought at Troy. Then, around 1200 BCE, their civilization collapsed in a wave of destructions that swept across the eastern Mediterranean, a catastrophe still not fully understood. The Mycenaean civilization emerged on mainland Greece around 1600 BCE, influenced by the earlier Minoan civilization of Crete, but developing distinctive features. Major Mycenaean centers included Mycenae in the Argolid Peninsula, the most famous site, giving its name to the civilization. Mycenae featured massive fortification walls built with huge stone blocks, called Cyclopean masonry, because later Greeks thought only the giant Cyclopes could have moved such stones. A palace complex, and rich shaft graves containing gold grave goods including the famous Mask of Agamemnon. Pylos in Messenia, a palace complex without fortification walls, destroyed by fire around 1180 BCE. The fire-baked clay tablets written in Linear B, preserving administrative records that have provided enormous insight into Mycenaean society. Tiryns near Mycenae, another fortress with Cyclopean walls, so thick they contain internal galleries and chambers. Thebes in Boeotia, a major center, though much of the Bronze Age site is buried under the modern city. Athens, a Mycenaean settlement, though less prominent than in later classical times. The Acropolis was fortified in the Mycenaean period, and numerous smaller centers across mainland Greece and on Crete after Mycenaeans conquered the island around 1450 BCE. Mycenaean society. Our understanding of Mycenaean society comes from Linear B tablets, clay tablets inscribed with an early form of Greek writing deciphered in 1952 by Michael Ventris and John Chadwick. The tablets are administrative records inventories, ration lists, land holdings, religious offerings, and personnel rosters. Archaeological evidence, palace architecture, fortifications, tombs, pottery, frescoes, and material culture. Homer's epics, the Iliad and Odyssey, composed centuries after the Mycenaean collapse, preserve some Mycenaean-era memories mixed with later elements. The society was hierarchical. The one-axe king ruled each Mycenaean kingdom. The Linear B tablets show extensive palace bureaucracy managing agriculture, manufacturing, religious activities, and military affairs. The Lawashtas, possibly a military commander or secondary ruler, is mentioned in tablets. Specialized workers included bronze smiths, potters, textile workers, primarily women, perfume makers, and scribes. Landholding classes controlled agricultural land, with complex arrangements of palace land, private land, and land leased to workers. Slavery existed. The tablets record slaves, male and female, working for the palace and private individuals. The economy was redistributive. The palace collected agricultural products, raw materials, and finished goods, then redistributed them as rations to workers, offerings to gods, and trade goods. Religion centered on gods recognizable as early forms of later Greek deities Poseidon, Zeus, Hera, Dionysus, and others. Linear B tablets record offerings to these gods. The Mycenaean civilization achieved significant cultural and technological developments: architecture, massive fortification walls, palace complexes with throne rooms and central hearths, tholos tombs, beehive-shaped chamber tombs, and the famous Lion Gate at Mycenae. Writing, Linear B script adapted from Minoan Linear A, which remains undeciphered, used for palace administration. The script disappeared after the collapse and wasn't reinvented until the alphabet arrived from Phoenicia centuries later. Metalworking, sophisticated bronze working, producing weapons, tools, and ceremonial objects. Some gold working, though gold was rarer and reserved for elite burials. Maritime trade. Mycenaean pottery appears across the Mediterranean in Egypt, the Levant, Anatolia, Italy, and Sicily, indicating extensive trade networks. Artistic production. Frescoes, pottery with distinctive styles, and crafted objects showing cultural sophistication. Military capability. Fortifications, weapons and armor. Bronze armor, swords, spears, shields indicate organized warfare. Chariot warfare, evidenced by clay tablets inventorying chariot wheels and parts, was practiced, though its extent is debated. Around 1200 BCE, the Mycenaean world collapsed catastrophically. Major palace centers were destroyed by fire within a relatively short period. Perhaps 1180 BCE. Pylos was burned and abandoned around 1180 BCE. The palace was never reoccupied. Mycenae was burned around 1200 BCE, then partially reoccupied, then burned again around 1150 BCE, and eventually abandoned. Tiryns was destroyed and largely abandoned, though some occupation continued. Thebes was destroyed around 1200 BCE. Many smaller sites were also destroyed or abandoned during this period. The consequences were severe. Population declined dramatically, perhaps by 75% or more, based on settlement survey data. Writing. Linear B disappeared. Greece entered a dark age without literacy lasting until the alphabet's arrival around 800 BCE. Trade networks collapsed. Imports of foreign goods ceased. Monumental building ended. No more palaces or fortifications were constructed. Settlement patterns changed. People moved from palaces to small villages or defensible hilltop sites. Cultural complexity declined. Artistic production, craft specialization, and social hierarchy all simplified. The Mycenaean collapse was part of the broader Late Bronze Age collapse affecting the entire eastern Mediterranean around 1200 BCE. Explaining it has challenged scholars for decades. Theory 1. Invasion. The Sea Peoples. Egyptian texts from this period describe invasions by mysterious sea peoples, groups from the sea or by sea who attacked Egypt, the Levant, and Anatolia. Egyptian pharaoh Ramesses III claimed to have defeated them in battle. Could sea peoples have destroyed Mycenaean palaces? Possibly, though sea peoples are not specifically mentioned attacking Greece in any texts. The identity of sea peoples is uncertain. Possibly displaced populations from collapsing regions rather than organized invasion force. The destructions show signs of fire, but limited evidence of battle. Some scholars question whether sea peoples were a cause of collapse or a symptom. Theory 2. Internal warfare. Mycenaean kingdoms may have fought each other, with interstate warfare destroying palaces and fragmenting the political system. Evidence includes fortifications were strengthened in the period just before collapse, suggesting anticipated threat. Some destructions might be explained by inter-palace rivalry. The Iliad, if preserving any historical memory, describes Greeks fighting each other as well as Troy. But this doesn't fully explain why all major centers collapsed roughly simultaneously. Why recovery didn't occur. Internecine warfare in other periods didn't cause complete collapse. The broader Mediterranean-wide pattern of collapse. Theory 3. Social unrest and revolution. Perhaps lower classes revolted against palace elites, destroying the centers of power and creating a more egalitarian society. Evidence is minimal. No clear evidence of class warfare in the archaeological record. The post-collapse period was poorer and less organized, not more egalitarian. Theory 4. Climate change and drought. Climate data from this period shows significant drought across the eastern Mediterranean. Several sources of evidence, pollen records showing decreased tree cover and increased drought-resistant plants. Lake sediment cores indicating lower water levels. Historical texts mentioning famine and food shortages. Drought could have caused agricultural failure leading to famine. Population stress and social unrest. Breakdown of trade as all regions suffered simultaneously. Migration and conflict over dwindling resources. This is currently a leading theory, but alone it may not fully explain why drought would destroy palaces specifically rather than just causing abandonment. Why recovery took so long. Droughts end, but Mycenaean civilization never recovered. Theory 5. Earthquake storm. Some scholars propose a series of major earthquakes destroyed the palaces. Evidence includes archaeological evidence of earthquake damage at some sites. Greece is seismically active, and major earthquakes occur periodically. Palace collapses could result from structural failure during quakes. Fires could follow earthquakes if hearths and oil lamps ignite collapsed buildings. However, not all destructions show clear earthquake evidence. Earthquakes alone don't explain the long-term collapse. Damaged cities can be rebuilt. The Mediterranean-wide pattern suggests broader causes. Theory 6: a system's collapse. Perhaps the Mycenaean palace economy was complex and interdependent, making it fragile. Multiple stresses, drought, trade disruption, political instability could have triggered cascading failures. The palace system required agricultural surplus to support non-farming specialists. Trade for resources not locally available, tin for bronze, luxury goods. Centralized administration to manage redistribution. Social cohesion, maintaining palace authority. If multiple stresses hit simultaneously, drought reduced agricultural surplus. Wider Mediterranean collapse disrupted trade. Without surplus and trade, palace system couldn't function. Political authority broke down. Population dispersed to subsistence farming. Writing used for palace administration became useless and was forgotten. The most likely explanation. Modern scholarship favors multi-causal explanations, a combination of climate stress, drought, wider Mediterranean disruptions, sea peoples, trade collapse, possibly migrations, internal vulnerabilities, palace system fragility, and possibly natural disasters. Earthquakes combined to overwhelm Mycenaean civilization's resilience. No single cause was responsible, but multiple stresses at once created a perfect storm that Mycenaean society couldn't weather. The Dark Age and recovery. After the collapse, Greece entered a dark age. Approximately 1100–800 BCE, population declined and dispersed to small villages. Writing was lost, linear B disappeared, and wasn't replaced until the alphabet. Trade contracted to local exchanges. Art and architecture simplified dramatically. Political organization fragmented into small chiefdoms. But Greek culture survived and eventually recovered. Oral tradition preserved myths and legends later written down by Homer and Hesiod. Greek language continued and evolved. Religious traditions persisted with continuity to classical Greek religion. Around 800 BCE, population began recovering, writing alphabet was adopted, and city-states emerged. The classical Greek civilization that emerged was fundamentally different from Mycenaean, more politically fragmented city-states, rather than kingdoms, more democratic in some cases, and culturally transformed, yet it saw itself as heir to the Mycenaean heroes, preserving their memory in epic poetry. For centuries after the classical period, the Mycenaean civilization was forgotten. The ruins were visible but misidentified. Medieval and Renaissance Greeks knew the ruins at Mycenae, Turin, and elsewhere, but attributed them to mythical builders or to the classical period. Homer's epics were considered pure fiction, poetic invention without historical basis. Heinrich Schliemann, a German businessman and amateur archaeologist, changed this. Convinced Homer's epics preserved historical memories, he excavated Troy in Turkey, finding ruins of a city that existed in the right period. Mycenae, 1874–1876, uncovering the shaft graves with gold treasures, fortification walls, and palace remains. Schliemann's discoveries proved that Homer's world had some historical basis. A Bronze Age civilization had existed, built fortified palaces, and left rich burials. Subsequent archaeology by more careful excavators refined understanding, discovered more Mycenaean sites, and eventually deciphered Linear B, proving the Mycenaean spoke an early form of Greek. The Mycenaean civilization was recovered from obscurity, transformed from myth to history, and recognized as a crucial phase of Greek and Mediterranean prehistory. Among the least known of the world's great ancient civilizations is the Aksumite Empire, which dominated the Horn of Africa and parts of southern Arabia from approximately 109–40 CE, rivaling Rome and Persia in power at its height, yet which is barely mentioned in most world history narratives. Aksum was a literate, urbanized, Christian kingdom that minted its own coins, built massive stone obelisks, created distinctive architecture, and controlled crucial trade routes between Africa and Asia. Then it declined. Its power fragmented, its cities were abandoned to the highlands, and it faded from the consciousness of the wider world. remembered mainly in Ethiopian tradition until modern archaeology recovered its story. The kingdom of Aksum emerged in the northern Ethiopian highlands, modern Eritrea and Tigray, Ethiopia around the 1st century CE, building on earlier cultural developments in the region. The location was strategic. The Ethiopian highlands provided agricultural land, water resources, and defensible terrain. Access to the Red Sea through the port of Adelais allowed maritime trade. Proximity to southern Arabia enabled cultural and commercial exchange. The region sat between the Mediterranean/Roman world and the Indian Ocean trade networks. The early development saw urbanization centered on the city of Aksum. Development of distinctive Aksumite architecture and material culture. Adoption of writing Ge'ez script, still used in Ethiopian Orthodox liturgy. Social stratification with an elite class commissioning monuments. By the 3rd–4th centuries CE, Aksum had become a significant power controlling trade routes between the interior of Africa and the Red Sea, minting gold, silver and bronze coins, one of only 4 major powers to mint gold coins in this period: Rome, Persia, Kushan India, and Aksum. Expanding influence into southern Arabia, Himyar Kingdom in modern Yemen, developing as a center of Christianity after conversion in the 4th century. The Aksumite civilization achieved remarkable cultural and technological sophistication. The stelae obelisks. Aksum is famous for massive standing stones, stelae, carved from single pieces of granite, some reaching heights of 20–30 meters and weighing hundreds of tons. The largest, now fallen and broken, was approximately 33 meters tall and weighed an estimated 500 tons. These stelae are carved to resemble multi-story buildings with false doors, windows, and beams, possibly representing palaces or commemorating deceased rulers. Raising such massive single pieces of stone required sophisticated engineering. Though the techniques are not fully understood, no written records describe the process. Coinage. Aksumite coins bore inscriptions in Ge'ez and Greek, showing cultural connections to both African and Mediterranean traditions. The coins featured images of kings and Christian symbols after conversion and circulated in trade networks across the Red Sea and Indian Ocean. Architecture. Aksumite buildings used a distinctive technique called monkey heads, projecting stone beams alternating with stone courses, creating patterns on walls. Buildings included palaces, churches, and elite residences built with mortared stone. Writing and literature. Ge'ez script was used for inscriptions, royal monuments, and eventually religious texts. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church preserved extensive Ge'ez literature, including biblical texts, saints' lives, and historical chronicles. Christianity. Aksum adopted Christianity as the state religion in the 4th century CE, around 330–340 CE under King Ezana, becoming one of the earliest Christian kingdoms. The conversion predated most of Europe's Christianization and established the Ethiopian Orthodox tradition that continues today. Trade. Aksum controlled trade in African goods: ivory, gold, rhinoceros horn, tortoiseshell, obsidian, slaves. Imported goods: textiles, glass, wine, olive oil, metal goods. Transit trade: goods passing from the Mediterranean to the Indian Ocean and vice versa. Political organization. Aksum was a kingdom with a powerful ruler, Nagusa, Nagast, king of kings, suggesting hierarchical control over subordinate rulers. The state minted coins, commissioned monuments, and maintained military forces capable of projecting power across the Red Sea. In the 6th century, Aksum expanded into southern Arabia, intervening in conflicts in the Himyarite kingdom, modern Yemen. King Caleb, also called Ella Asbeha, reigned c. 520–540 CE, launched a military expedition around 520 CE, reportedly to protect Arabian Christians who were being persecuted by a Jewish Himyarite king, Dieku Nuwas. The expedition succeeded, deposing Dieku Nuwas and installing a Christian ruler. Aksumite influence in Arabia persisted for several decades, demonstrating the kingdom's military capability and regional power. Contemporary sources, Byzantine historians, and Arabian sources mention these events, providing external confirmation of Aksumite power. Procopius, a Byzantine historian, described Aksum as a significant power and trading partner with the Byzantine Empire. The Aksumite presence in Arabia eventually ended as local rulers reasserted control and as broader regional changes, including the rise of Islam in the 7th century, transformed Arabian politics. Aksum's decline was gradual, occurring over several centuries, approximately 7th–10th centuries CE. Multiple factors contributed the rise of Islam. The Islamic conquests of the 7th century transformed the Red Sea region. Arabian ports came under Islamic control, and trade patterns shifted. While early Islamic rulers didn't directly attack Aksum according to tradition, the Prophet Muhammad had instructed Muslims to leave Aksum alone because it had provided refuge to early Muslims fleeing persecution. The changing political and economic landscape reduced Aksumite access to trade. Environmental degradation evidence suggests deforestation and soil erosion in the Aksumite heartland. Intensive agriculture and tree cutting for construction and fuel may have degraded the environment, making the region less productive. Climate change. Some evidence indicates drier climate conditions in this period, which would have stressed agriculture and water resources. Political fragmentation. As central authority weakened, regional powers may have asserted independence, fragmenting the kingdom. Economic decline. As trade routes shifted and environmental stress increased, the economic base supporting Aksumite urban centers and monuments eroded. The decline resulted in abandonment of the city of Aksum as a political capital, though it remained a religious center. Cessation of monument building. No more stelae were erected. End of coin minting. The last Aksumite coins date to the 7th century. Political power shifting southward into the highlands. Transformation from an urban, trade-based empire to a more rural, agricultural kingdom. But Aksum didn't disappear entirely. The Ethiopian kingdom continued, maintaining Christianity and cultural continuity. The Zagwe dynasty, 12th–13th centuries, and later Solomonic dynasty, 1270–1974, claimed descent from Aksumite rulers, and Ethiopian tradition preserved memory of Aksumite greatness. Despite its continuation in Ethiopian tradition, Aksum largely disappeared from broader world consciousness. Medieval and Renaissance Europe knew little about Ethiopia beyond vague legends of Prester John, a legendary Christian king in Africa or Asia. The physical remains at Aksum stelae, ruins. Inscriptions were known to local populations, but not studied scientifically until the modern period. European exploration of Ethiopia in the 19th–20th centuries brought Aksum to wider scholarly attention, but systematic archaeology came late compared to Egypt, Mesopotamia, or classical Greece. Why was Aksum forgotten? Geographic isolation in the Ethiopian highlands made access difficult. European colonialism focused on other African regions. Academic bias prioritized Mediterranean and Near Eastern civilizations. The decline meant Aksum left less visible monumental legacy than contemporary empires. Ethiopian political isolation, maintaining independence except for brief Italian occupation, limited external scholarly access. Modern archaeology has recovered Aksum story excavations at the city of Aksum revealing palaces, churches, and residential areas. Study of the stelae and tombs. Analysis of inscriptions providing historical and linguistic information. Excavation of the port of Adelais revealing trade connections. Integration of Ethiopian traditional history with archaeological and external textual evidence. Aksum's importance extends beyond its historical achievements. African complexity. Aksum demonstrates that complex, literate, urbanized civilizations existed in sub-Saharan Africa in antiquity, challenging racist narratives that denied African capability. Christian diversity. Aksum shows early Christianity's geographic spread and cultural diversity. Ethiopian Orthodox Christianity developed distinctively, preserving traditions that diverged from European Christianity. Trade networks. Aksum illustrates the importance of the Red Sea and Indian Ocean trade networks connecting Africa, Arabia, and Asia, often overlooked in favor of Mediterranean-focused narratives. Architectural sophistication. The stelae and Aksumite architecture demonstrate engineering capabilities and artistic traditions distinct from European or Asian models. Historical continuity. The Ethiopian kingdom's persistence from ancient Aksum through medieval dynasties to modern Ethiopia represents remarkable continuity rare in world history. The recovery of Aksum from obscurity challenges us to ask how many other significant civilizations are understudied or forgotten because of geographic remoteness, academic bias, or historical accident. Aksum reminds us that the civilizations we know about represent only a portion of human achievement across history. All the lost civilizations we've explored so far, Atlantis, mythical, Indus Valley, Maya, Mycenaean, Aksumite, come from periods when civilization, writing, and complex societies already existed or were developing. But what about the period before civilization? Can there be lost civilizations in the pre-agricultural hunter-gatherer world? Göbekli Tepe in southeastern Turkey challenges our assumptions about the capabilities of pre-agricultural societies and the timeline of monumental architecture. Built approximately 9608,200 BCE before pottery, before metallurgy, before writing, before domesticated plants and animals, Göbekli Tepe's massive stone structures suggest that the hunter-gatherers we thought were too simple for such achievements were actually capable of remarkable organization and construction. This isn't a lost civilization in the conventional sense, no cities, no writing, no agriculture, but it represents a lost phase of human social complexity that archaeology is only beginning to understand. Göbekli Tepe Potbelly Hill in Turkish is a artificial hill created by successive occupation in southeastern Turkey, near the modern city of Şanlıurfa. In 1963, archaeologist Peter Benedict identified the site as significant, but didn't excavate. For decades, it was known but unstudied. In 1994, German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt began systematic excavations, revealing the site's extraordinary nature. Schmidt and his team worked at Göbekli Tepe until his death in 2014, uncovering multiple circular structures and transforming understanding of the Neolithic period. Göbekli Tepe consists of multiple circular or oval structures, defined by massive T-shaped limestone pillars arranged in rings around central pillars. The pillars, made from limestone quarried from the hill itself, T-shaped a vertical shaft with a horizontal crossbeam at the top, perhaps representing stylized human figures, ranging from 3–6 meters in height, weighing 10–20 tons each, some potentially more. Many decorated with carved reliefs of animals, lions, bulls, foxes, snakes, scorpions, vultures, and other creatures. The enclosures circular or oval structures with pillars arranged around the perimeter. 2 larger central pillars in most structures. Floors made of terrazzo polished lime plaster. Benches along walls in some structures. No evidence of roofs, possibly open air, or with organic roofing that hasn't survived. Multiple structures have been identified, at least 20 through geophysical survey, though only a fraction have been excavated. They were built at different times over approximately 1,500 years, then deliberately buried, filled with debris and abandoned. No evidence of permanent habitation, no houses, no hearths, no trash heaps suggesting residential occupation. Göbekli Tepe was a ceremonial or gathering site, not a settlement. No water source at the site itself, requiring water to be transported. Enormous labor investment for structures that weren't residential. This was purely ceremonial architecture built by hunter-gatherers. Radiocarbon dating places Göbekli Tepe's construction and use between approximately 9600 and 8200 BCE, the pre-pottery Neolithic A and B periods. This predates the invention of pottery, which appears later in the region. The domestication of plants and animals in this region, agriculture, developed around 8000 BCE onwards. Metalworking, copperworking, began thousands of years later. Writing, which emerged around 3200 BCE in Mesopotamia. Göbekli Tepe is contemporary with the end of the Younger Dryas, a cold period, and the beginning of the Holocene, our current geological epoch, a time of climate change and environmental transformation. Who built Göbekli Tepe? The archaeological evidence indicates hunter-gatherers. Animal bones found at the site are from wild species gazelle, aurochs, wild boar, etc. Not domesticated animals. No evidence of cultivated plants exists. The builders were mobile hunter-gatherers, not settled farmers. Organized labor quarrying, transporting, erecting, and carving the pillars required substantial labor. Estimates suggest several hundred workers, perhaps 200–500 over extended periods. This organization existed before agriculture's supposed requirement for supporting such projects. Skilled artisans, the carved reliefs show artistic sophistication and consistent style, suggesting specialized craftspeople rather than casual decoration. Seasonal gatherers, the site likely wasn't occupied year-round. People would have gathered periodically, perhaps seasonally, for ceremonies, feasts, and construction work. Regional networks, the effort required suggests cooperation among multiple groups. No single hunter-gatherer band could have provided enough labor. This implies regional social networks and mechanisms for organizing collective action. What was Göbekli Tepe for? Without writing or explicit explanations, we can only infer from archaeological evidence and comparative ethnography. A ceremonial center, the lack of residential features, and the monumental architecture strongly suggest religious or ceremonial purposes rather than practical functions. A gathering place, groups from across the region likely gathered here periodically for ceremonies, rituals, social events, and feasting. Evidence of feasting, large numbers of animal bones, supports this. Astronomical alignments, some researchers have proposed that structures align with solstices, equinoxes, or stellar events. This remains debated and not definitively established. Social bonding, the collective effort of building and maintaining the site, would have reinforced social bonds among participating groups, creating shared identity and cooperation. Religious or cosmological expression, the carved animals and symbolism likely had cosmological or mythological significance, representing spirits, totems, or cosmic forces important to the builder's worldview. Territorial marker, the monumental structures may have asserted control or significance of the region to the groups who built and used the site. Around 8200 BCE, the structures were deliberately buried, filled with debris, soil, and stones, carefully covering the pillars and enclosures. Why? This remains mysterious. Possibilities include ritual closure, ending the site's sacred function through ceremonial burial. Environmental changes, perhaps climate shifts, made the region less suitable for gatherings. Social changes, population dispersal, or transformation as agriculture developed. Replacement, older structures were buried to make room for newer ones. Though this doesn't fully explain the final burial, the burial preserved the structures remarkably well, protecting them from weathering and destruction until modern excavation. Göbekli Tepe challenges several assumptions about prehistory. Assumption 1. Agriculture preceded monumental architecture. Traditional narrative, hunter-gatherers were too mobile and resource-limited to build monuments. Only after agriculture produced surplus and settled populations could monumental architecture develop. Göbekli Tepe monumental architecture predates agriculture by at least 1,000 years in this region. Reassessment, perhaps monumental building motivated agricultural development rather than vice versa. If groups gathered seasonally at Göbekli Tepe, they might have depleted wild resources, encouraging deliberate cultivation. Or gatherings themselves might have provided context for experimenting with plant cultivation and animal management. Assumption 2. Complex society requires agriculture. Traditional narrative, only agricultural surplus, allows social hierarchy, specialized labor, and coordinated large-scale projects. Göbekli Tepe hunter-gatherers organized labor forces, maintained long-term projects, and created specialized ceremonial architecture. Reassessment, hunter-gatherers in resource-rich environments. Southeastern Turkey in the early Holocene had abundant wild resources, can achieve social complexity without agriculture. Assumption 3. Religion followed practical concerns. Traditional narrative, religion and ceremonial life were secondary to subsistence concerns. People built temples after they had secure food supplies. Göbekli Tepe ceremonial architecture came first. Practical residential architecture is absent. Reassessment, religious and ceremonial motivations might have driven early social organization and monumental construction, preceding purely practical concerns. Göbekli Tepe isn't unique, though it's the oldest and most elaborate. Other pre-agricultural or early agricultural sites show monumental construction. Karahan Tepe, Turkey, similar to Göbekli Tepe, with T-shaped pillars and carved reliefs, also pre-pottery Neolithic. Çatalhöyük, Turkey, a later Neolithic site 7th 5700 BCE, showing early urbanization without traditional urban planning. Densely packed houses with no streets, entered through roof holes. Poverty Point, Louisiana, USA, a late Archaic period 1100 BCE site built by hunter-gatherers, featuring massive earthworks, concentric ridges, and platform mounds. These sites demonstrate that pre-agricultural or early agricultural societies across different regions achieved architectural and organizational sophistication previously thought impossible without fully developed agriculture. Despite decades of excavation, much about Göbekli Tepe remains mysterious, the exact purpose of the structures, the symbolism of the carved animals and abstract symbols, the nature of ceremonies or rituals performed there, the social organization of the builders, why the site was deliberately buried, the connection, if any, between Göbekli Tepe and the later development of agriculture in the region. Only a fraction of the site has been excavated. Geophysical surveys suggest at least 1620 additional circular structures remain buried. Full excavation could take decades or centuries. Göbekli Tepe reminds us that the prehistoric past, before writing, before cities, before agriculture, was more complex, more sophisticated, and more organized than traditional narratives suggested. The lost civilization here isn't a literal lost empire, but a lost understanding of what pre-agricultural societies were capable of achieving. Here we pause once more in our exploration of lost civilizations. We have discovered Doggerland, a real lost land beneath the North Sea, not a civilization but a landscape drowned by rising seas. We have witnessed the Mycenaean palaces destroyed in the Bronze Age collapse, their civilization forgotten until modern archaeology recovered it. We have encountered Axum, the African empire powerful enough to rival Rome yet overlooked in standard histories. And we have explored Göbekli Tepe, challenging our assumptions about what hunter-gatherers could achieve before the agricultural revolution. As you drift towards sleep, imagine Doggerland's Mesolithic hunters watching the sea slowly advance, generation by generation claiming land their ancestors knew. See Mycenaean scribes at Pylos frantically recording inventory in linear B tablets, unknowing their palace would burn that night. Picture Axumite workers raising massive granite stelae to commemorate their kings, and early Neolithic people gathering at Göbekli Tepe for ceremonies we can barely imagine. Each lost civilization teaches different lessons about environmental vulnerability, social collapse, historical forgetting, and the remarkable things humans can achieve even before the supposedly necessary preconditions for civilization existed. When we continue, we will explore more vanished peoples and their fates, seeking patterns in how civilizations rise, endure, decline, and either transform or disappear. But for now, rest. The lost worlds sleep beneath jungle and sea, beneath sand and sediment, waiting for archaeology's careful hand to reveal their stories. In the dramatic cliff dwellings and canyon complexes of the American Southwest, the ancestral Puebloan people, formerly called Anasazi, a Navajo word meaning ancient enemies or ancient ones, now replaced by the more respectful term preferred by their modern descendants, built sophisticated communities between approximately 113 CE before mysteriously abandoning their greatest architectural achievements. The cliff palaces of Mesa Verde, the great houses of Chaco Canyon, and hundreds of other sites across the Four Corners region, where Colorado, Utah, Arizona, and New Mexico meet, stand as testament to a culture that flourished for over a millennium, then transformed so dramatically that their most impressive settlements were left empty to the elements. Understanding their story requires balancing respect for living descendant communities. Modern Pueblo peoples of New Mexico and Arizona are their direct descendants, with honest investigation of archaeological evidence showing a society under increasing stress that ultimately reorganized itself through migration and cultural transformation. The ancestral Puebloan culture, developed through several phases. Basketmaker period, 10750 CE. Early populations lived in pit houses, semi-subterranean dwellings, practiced agriculture, corn, beans, squash. The Three Sisters made distinctive baskets, hence the name, and began creating pottery. Pueblo Ayatú period, 750–1100 CE. Above-ground masonry architecture developed, with connected room blocks forming villages. Kivas circular ceremonial chambers became standard features. Population increased and settlements expanded. Pueblo III period, 1100–1300 CE. The cultural florescence, with construction of the famous cliff dwellings, great houses, and complex road systems. This is also the period of eventual abandonment. The ancestral Pueblones achieved remarkable cultural and architectural sophistication. Chaco Canyon, New Mexico, between approximately 8050–1150 CE, Chaco Canyon became a major ceremonial and administrative center featuring great houses, massive multi-story buildings with hundreds of rooms, including Pueblo Bonito, the largest, with over 600 rooms and possibly 4 or 5 stories. Great Kiva's enormous ceremonial chambers up to 19 meters in diameter. Road system, remarkably straight roads extending for miles, connecting Chaco to outlying communities across the region. Astronomical alignments. Some structures align with solar and lunar events, solstices, lunar standstills, suggesting astronomical observation. Mesa Verde, Colorado, famous for cliff dwellings built into alcoves in canyon walls, approximately 1190–1280 CE. Cliff Palace, the largest cliff dwelling with approximately 150 rooms and 23 kivas. Spruce Tree House, another major cliff dwelling with about 130 rooms. Balcony house requiring ladders and crawling through tight passages to access, suggesting defensive concerns. Other major sites: Hovenweep, distinctive tower structures, possibly defensive or ceremonial. Aztec ruins, misnamed, no connection to the Aztec large pueblo with over 400 rooms. Salmon ruins, major outlier great house in the Chaco system. Architecture and engineering, multi-story stone masonry buildings, some reaching 4 or 5 stories. Sophisticated building techniques with distinctive masonry styles. Water management through dams, reservoirs, and canal systems in an arid environment. Room layouts showing public, residential, and storage areas. Kivas showing consistent architectural traditions across the region. Material culture, distinctive pottery styles, black on white designs characteristic of different periods and regions. Intricate basketry. Cotton textiles, cotton was grown and woven. Turquoise and shell jewelry obtained through trade networks extending to the Pacific coast and Mexico. Stone tools and implements. Agriculture in a challenging environment. Dry farming in an arid region with limited rainfall. Check dams and terracing to maximize water retention. Storage of surplus in granaries for lean years. Agricultural calendar tied to astronomical observations. Social organization, the nature of ancestral Puebloan social hierarchy is debated. Great houses like Pueblo Bonito may have been elite residences, ceremonial centers, or communal gathering places, or combinations of these. Regional system centered on Chaco Canyon suggests some form of political or religious integration across a wide area. Kivas indicate organized ceremonial life and possibly secret societies or clans. Between approximately 1150 and 1300 CE, varying by region, the major ancestral Puebloan centers were progressively abandoned. Chaco Canyon abandoned around 1150 CE. Construction ceased, population declined, and the great houses were left empty. Mesa Verde, the cliff dwellings were occupied for less than a century, approximately 1190–1280 CE before abandonment. Other Four Corners sites systematically abandoned by approximately 1300 CE. The populations didn't disappear, they migrated primarily south and east to the Rio Grande Valley and other regions in New Mexico and Arizona, where their descendants, modern Pueblo people, still live. Why did they leave? Multiple factors contributed. Drought. The Great Drought, 1276–1299 CE. Tree ring analysis. Dendrochronology reveals severe drought in the late 13th century. The period 1276–1299 CE showed dramatically reduced rainfall. This was the most severe drought in the region in over 1,000 years. Agricultural societies dependent on rain-fed farming would have faced crop failures. But drought alone doesn't fully explain earlier droughts hadn't caused complete abandonment. Some areas with better water access were also abandoned. The migration began before the worst drought years. Environmental degradation. Archaeological and environmental evidence shows deforestation around major centers, trees cut for construction and firewood. Soil erosion resulting from deforestation and intensive agriculture. Depletion of wild game from overhunting. Depletion of firewood requiring longer foraging distances. By 1200s, the environment around major centers was severely degraded. Less tree cover meant less soil retention and more erosion. Reduced game populations meant fewer protein sources. Longer distances to gather wood and wild foods increased labor costs. The landscape couldn't support the population densities that had developed. Overpopulation relative to resources. Population had grown substantially during the 1100s. More people meant more demand for food, water, and resources. Agricultural intensification was reaching limits in the arid environment. When drought struck, the carrying capacity dropped below population levels. Famine and resource stress resulted. Social stress and violence. Evidence suggests increasing social tension in the final decades. Defensive locations. The cliff dwellings at Mysaverd required difficult access, suggesting defensive concerns. Skeletal trauma. Some human remains show evidence of violence. Possible warfare. Some sites show evidence of burning or destruction. Cannibalism. Controversial evidence at some sites suggests possible cannibalism during extreme stress periods, though this is debated and may represent ritual practices or post-mortem processing, rather than survival cannibalism. Breaking of the Chaco system. The regional system centered on Chaco Canyon collapsed. Roads that once connected outlying communities to Chaco fell into disuse. The ceremonial and political integration that Chaco represented fragmented. Without regional cooperation, communities were more vulnerable to local stresses. The migration process. Abandonment was gradual and organized, not panicked flight. People moved to regions with better water resources. Rio Grande Valley, Little Colorado River Valley. They brought cultural traditions with them, establishing new communities. Oral traditions among modern Pueblo peoples preserve migration memories. Archaeological evidence shows continuity in pottery styles, architectural traditions, and religious practices between ancestral Puebloan sites and later Pueblos. The migrations were multi-directional. Some groups moved south to Hopi Mesas. Hopi people are direct descendants. Others moved east to the Rio Grande Valley, ancestors of modern Rio Grande Pueblos like Acoma, Zuni, and others. Migrations occurred over several generations, not all at once. Modern Pueblo peoples have oral traditions about the migration. Stories tell of leaving the Four Corners region due to drought, conflict, or spiritual reasons. Different Pueblos trace their origins to different ancestral Puebloan sites. The term Anasazi is often rejected because it's not their own word for themselves. The migrations are seen as part of a longer journey and spiritual quest, not simply environmental refugees fleeing disaster. Pueblo perspectives emphasize continuity rather than collapse. The culture transformed, but didn't end. The migrations were predicted and planned, not chaotic. Spiritual and ceremonial reasons, not just environmental motivated movements. The cliff dwellings and great houses served their purpose and were ceremonially closed when their time ended. Respecting these perspectives, while also investigating environmental and archaeological evidence, creates a fuller picture than either view alone. Ancestral Puebloan sites have been subject to mystification and appropriation. New Age claims. Some New Age groups claim special spiritual connections to the sites, conduct ceremonies, or claim the ancestral Puebloans had mystical knowledge or extraterrestrial contact. This appropriation disrespects the actual descendant communities who have living connections to these sites. Imposes external spiritual frameworks rather than understanding Puebloan spirituality on its own terms. Sometimes involves trespassing on sacred sites or removing artifacts. Conspiracy theories. Some fringe theories claim the ancestral Puebloans had advanced technology. No evidence supports this. were visited by aliens based on misinterpreting rock art. Disappeared mysteriously, they migrated to known locations. Archaeological tourism. While tourism supports preservation through funding, it also creates challenges. Heavy visitation damages fragile sites. Looting and vandalism occur. Sites sacred to Pueblo peoples become tourist attractions. Responsible engagement requires respecting descendant community connections and perspectives. Understanding sites in their actual cultural context. Supporting preservation without appropriation. Recognizing that we're looking at real people's heritage, not mysterious vanished aliens. Modern archaeology continues revealing new information. Remote sensing, LiDAR, and satellite imagery reveal previously unknown sites and features across the landscape. Dendrochronology, tree ring analysis provides year-by-year climate data, allowing precise correlation with occupation patterns. Bioarchaeology analysis of human remains reveals diet, health, violence, and population movements through isotope analysis and DNA. Experimental archaeology, researchers recreate ancient techniques to understand how structures were built and used. The result is increasingly nuanced understanding that moves beyond simple narratives of mysterious abandonment to complex stories of environmental stress, social adaptation, and cultural transformation. While the ancestral Puebloans built their cliff dwellings in the southwest, another complex society was flourishing in the Mississippi River Valley. The Mississippian culture centered on the city of Cahokia near modern St. Louis, Illinois. Cahokia was the largest pre-Columbian settlement north of Mexico, with a population that may have reached 10,000–20,000 at its peak, approximately 1050–1200 CE, larger than London at the same time. Yet this American metropolis is virtually unknown in popular consciousness, omitted from most American history narratives, its massive earthen pyramids mistaken for natural hills until the 19th century. Understanding Cahokia challenges assumptions about North American prehistory, demonstrates sophisticated indigenous civilization, and raises questions about why it declined and why it's been largely forgotten. The Mississippian culture emerged around 800 CE across the eastern woodlands and Mississippi River Valley, characterized by maize agriculture. Intensive corn farming supported larger populations than earlier hunting-gathering gardening economies. Mound building, massive earthen platform mounds, often topped with temples or elite residences, dominating settlement centers. Hierarchical societies, evidence of social stratification with elite classes, craft specialists, and commoners. Long-distance trade exchange networks bringing exotic materials, copper from Great Lakes, shells from Gulf Coast, mica from Appalachians across vast distances. Shared iconography, the southeastern ceremonial complex, formerly called Southern Cult, shared artistic and religious symbols appearing across Mississippian sites, including distinctive motifs like the cross, sun circle, hand and eye, and weeping eye. Cahokia was the largest and most complex Mississippian center, but not the only one. Other major sites included Moundville, Alabama, Etowah, Georgia, and Spiro, Oklahoma. Located on the Mississippi River floodplain near the confluence with the Missouri River near modern Collinsville, Illinois, across the river from St. Louis, Cahokia occupied a strategic position for trade and agriculture. At its peak circa 1050–1200 CE, Cahokia featured Monk's Mound, the largest earthen structure in North America, a terraced platform mound covering 5 hectares, 14 acres at its base, and rising in 4 terraces to 30 meters, 100 feet height. It contains approximately 622,000 cubic meters of earth, all moved by human labor basket by basket, since they had no wheeled vehicles or draft animals. The structure atop Monk's Mound, now vanished, would have been a massive building, possibly a temple, elite residence, or administrative center. From its summit, leaders could oversee the entire city and surrounding countryside. Over 120 mounds of various sizes and functions, platform mounds supporting buildings, conical burial mounds containing elite interments, ridge-top mounds of uncertain function, a vast plaza, a 19-hectare 47-acre central plaza for gatherings, ceremonies, and possibly games. Chunky, a disc rolling game, was popular among Mississippian peoples. Woodhenge, circles of wooden posts now reconstructed that marked solar alignments, allowing observation of solstices and equinoxes, serving both ceremonial and calendrical purposes. A palisade wall enclosing the central district, built around 1175 CE, suggesting either defensive concerns or symbolic separation of sacred/elite space from the rest of the city. Residential areas, neighborhoods of pole and thatch houses arranged around courtyards, showing urban planning. Craft production areas, evidence of specialized production, shell bead manufacturing, pottery production, stone tool making. Population estimates range from 10,000 to 40,000 for Cahokia and its immediate environs. The range reflects uncertainty about how densely settled outlying areas were. The broader Cahokia region may have housed 50,000 or more. This made Cahokia larger than London in 1100 CE, larger than any other North American settlement until the 1800s, when Philadelphia and New York surpassed it. A genuine urban center with population density, craft specialization, and monumental architecture. Without writing, we reconstruct Cahokian society from archaeology's social hierarchy is evident from burial practices, elite burials with elaborate grave goods, shell beads, copper, mica, exotic materials versus simple commoner burials. Mound 72, a burial mound containing over 250 individuals, including a central burial of a high-status male on a shell bead burial platform, surrounded by sacrificial victims, young women and men, some buried alive. This indicates powerful elite who could command labor and sacrifice. Residential differentiation, larger houses near mounds versus smaller houses in outlying areas. Access to exotic goods, elites had greater access to imported materials. Political organization, Cahokia likely had a paramount chief or ruler governing the city and surrounding region, though the exact political structure is debated. Was it a chiefdom, a proto-state, or something in between? Evidence supports significant centralized authority. Religion, the mounds, plazas, and Woodhenge point to organized religion with public ceremonies. The southeastern ceremonial complex iconography suggests shared religious concepts across the Mississippian world, cosmological beliefs about the layered universe, underworld, earth, sky, ancestor veneration, and powerful supernatural forces. Economy, agriculture, maize, bean, squash farming in the fertile Mississippi floodplain. Trade, long-distance exchange bringing raw materials for craft production. Craft specialization, evidence of full-time specialists producing goods for elites and trade. Tribute, outlying communities may have paid tribute to Cahokia's rulers. Regional influence, Cahokia's influence extended across a wide region. Smaller mound centers in the surrounding area may have been politically subordinate, economically linked, or culturally affiliated with Cahokia. After approximately 1200 CE, Cahokia declined. By 1350 CE, the site was largely abandoned. The decline occurred in phases. Phase 1, 1200 and 1275 CE, population began declining, construction slowed, and Cahokia's regional dominance weakened. Phase 2, 1275-1350 CE, accelerated decline and eventual abandonment. Why did Cahokia decline? Multiple interacting factors: environmental degradation, deforestation around Cahokia, trees cut for construction, fuel, and clearing farmland. Soil erosion from intensive agriculture and deforestation. Flooding problems in the Mississippi floodplain, possibly exacerbated by environmental changes. Depletion of wild game and fish from overexploitation. Pollution, middens, trash heaps, and human waste affecting water quality. Climate change, the medieval warm period favorable for agriculture, ended around 1250-1300 CE. Climate became cooler and potentially drier. Agricultural yields would have declined. This stress coincided with Cahokia's decline. Overpopulation and resource stress. Cahokia's population had grown beyond what local resources could sustainably support. When environmental and climate stresses hit, the carrying capacity dropped dramatically. Food shortages and resource competition followed. Disease-dense urban populations create conditions for epidemic disease. Some skeletal evidence shows health stress in late-period burials. Though we can't identify specific diseases, the conditions for epidemics existed. Political instability as resources became scarce, The elite's legitimacy may have been questioned. Social unrest or conflict between factions could have destabilized political order. The palisade wall built around 1175 CE suggests security concerns. Regional collapse. As Cahokia weakened, its regional trade network and political influence collapsed. Outlying communities became independent or aligned with other centers. The system that had concentrated power and resources at Cahokia fragmented. The result: population dispersed to smaller settlements. Mound building ceased. The urban center was abandoned. Mississippian culture continued in other regions. Moundville, Etowah, etc. persisted longer, but Cahokia specifically was left empty. When Europeans arrived in the 16th-17th centuries, Cahokia had been abandoned for 200+ years. The mounds were visible but overgrown, and local indigenous peoples, Illinois, and other groups knew them as ancient structures, but weren't the direct builders. European diseases, smallpox, measles, influenza devastated Native American populations across the continent, killing an estimated 90% in some regions. The social disruption from epidemics, combined with European colonization, warfare, and forced displacement, meant that by the 19th century, knowledge of Cahokia's builders was fragmentary. The 19th century discovery: American settlers encountered the mounds, but often didn't recognize them as human-made. Some attributed them to mythical mound builders, a lost race supposedly unrelated to Native Americans. This racist theory denied Native Americans credit for their ancestors' achievements. Serious archaeology in the late 19th, early 20th centuries established that Native Americans built the mounds. Modern archaeology has systematically investigated Cahokia, revealing its scale and sophistication. UNESCO designated Cahokia Mounds a World Heritage Site in 1982, recognizing its global significance. Why is Cahokia forgotten? Despite its size and importance, Cahokia remains largely unknown in American popular consciousness. Why? Lack of monumental stone architecture. Unlike Maya pyramids or Egyptian monuments, Cahokia's earthen mounds are less visually dramatic and were often mistaken for natural hills. No writing without texts. There are no Cahokian names, kings, or stories to personalize the site for popular audiences. Colonial narratives. American history traditionally began with European arrival, marginalizing or erasing pre-Columbian achievements. Racist assumptions. The mound builder myth reflected discomfort with acknowledging Native American sophistication. Location. Unlike the Southwest ruins dramatically situated in canyons or Mesoamerican sites in tropical forests, Cahokia is in suburban St. Louis, less exotic and romantic. Timing. Abandoned before European contact, Cahokia left no direct historical connection to later events, making it easy to overlook in narratives focused on European colonization. Modern recognition is growing. Cahokia is increasingly included in textbooks, receives academic attention, and attracts visitors, but it still lacks the popular recognition it deserves as America's first city. In the jungles of Cambodia stand the magnificent temples of Angkor, the largest religious complex in the world, built by the Khmer Empire between the 9th and 15th centuries CE. At its peak, the Khmer Empire controlled much of mainland Southeast Asia, and its capital Angkor was one of the world's largest pre-industrial cities. Then, in the 15th century, Angkor was progressively abandoned, the jungle reclaimed the temples, and the Khmer capital moved away. European discovery in the 19th century brought Angkor to wider attention, but its abandonment remains partially mysterious, and the jungle environment continues to threaten these magnificent structures. The Khmer Empire emerged in the 9th century CE, when King Jayavarman II reigned 800–850 CE, unified the region, and established a capital near modern Angkor. Over the following centuries, successive kings expanded the empire and embellished Angkor with increasingly magnificent temples. At its peak 11th–12th centuries CE, the Khmer Empire controlled territory encompassing modern Cambodia, Thailand, Laos, and southern Vietnam. Commanded a population estimated at 3–5 million. Developed sophisticated water management systems supporting intensive rice agriculture. Built hundreds of temples across the empire, with the greatest concentration at Angkor. Khmer temples were built as Hindu or Buddhist religious complexes. The empire practiced both religions, sometimes simultaneously. Hindu temples earlier, dedicated to Shiva, Vishnu, or other Hindu deities, representing Mount Meru, the cosmic mountain at the center of the universe in Hindu cosmology. Buddhist temples later, especially 13th century onwards, dedicated to Buddha, with distinctive Buddhist iconography and layout. The architecture was distinctive stone construction, sandstone and laterite. Elaborate carvings covering walls, bas-reliefs depicting mythology, battles and court life. Towers representing mountain peaks. Galleries, courtyards and libraries. Surrounding moats representing the cosmic ocean. Angkor Wat, the most famous temple, built by King Suryavarman II, reigned 1113–1145 CE, as a Hindu temple dedicated to Vishnu. The structure central tower complex representing Mount Meru. 3 concentric rectangular galleries, surrounded by a 190-meter wide moat, covering 162.6 hectares, the largest religious monument in the world. Over 1,200 square meters of bas-relief carvings depicting Hindu epics and Khmer history. Angkor Wat's orientation, unlike most Khmer temples which face east, Angkor Wat faces west, leading to speculation it was designed as a funerary temple. The bas-reliefs are designed to be viewed counterclockwise, the direction of Hindu funeral processions. Angkor Thom, a later capital city, built by King Jayavarman II, reigned 1181–1218 CE, featuring the Bayon, a Buddhist temple at Angkor Thom's center, famous for 216 massive stone faces representing Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara, or the king himself gazing in all directions. Surrounding walls, 8-meter-high laterite walls with gates featuring towers carved with faces. Other structures: Royal Palace, Baphuon Temple, Terrace of the Elephants, Terrace of the Leper King. Other major temples, Ta Prohm, deliberately left partially unrestored, with massive tree roots growing through the structure, creating the iconic jungle temple image. Pre-Khan, large temple complex with extensive carvings. Banteay Sray, smaller, but with extraordinarily detailed carving, considered the pinnacle of Khmer decorative art. Perhaps more impressive than the temples was Angkor's sophisticated hydraulic system, Baray's massive reservoirs, artificial lakes built to store water, the West Baray 8 kilometers times 2.1 kilometers, covering 16 square kilometers, one of the largest hand-dug reservoirs in the pre-industrial world. The East Baray 7.5 kilometers times 1.8 kilometers. These stored water during the monsoon season for use during dry season. Canals and channels, extensive networks distributing water across the landscape for irrigation for rice paddies. Urban water supply, filling temple moats which had practical water management and symbolic functions. River diversions, modifying natural watercourses to direct water to reservoirs and agricultural areas. This hydraulic system supported intensive rice agriculture, feeding a large urban population and requiring sophisticated engineering, centralized planning, and enormous labor input. Recent research using LiGAR technology has revealed that Angkor was far larger than previously thought, a sprawling urban complex of approximately 1,000 square kilometers, larger than modern Los Angeles, making it one of the largest pre-industrial cities in the world. The population of Greater Angkor may have reached 750,000, 1 million, at its peak, an extraordinary concentration for a pre-industrial society. In the 15th century, Angkor was progressively abandoned, though the process and causes remain partially debated. The historical context, the rise of Theravada Buddhism. From the 13th century, Theravada Buddhism, focusing on individual enlightenment through monastic practice, replaced Mahayana Buddhism and Hinduism. This religious shift meant less emphasis on monumental temple building. Temples built of wood rather than stone, so they haven't survived. Resources redirected to monasteries rather than god-king monuments. Conflict with Ayutthaya. The Thai kingdom of Ayutthaya rose to power to Angkor's west. Ayutthaya raided Angkor multiple times in the 14th–15th centuries. In 1431, Ayutthaya captured and sacked Angkor. While not the sole cause of abandonment, these conflicts weakened Khmer power. Capital relocation. The Khmer capital moved to Phnom Penh 15th century, closer to the Mekong River and maritime trade routes. Phnom Penh offered better access to maritime trade with China and Southeast Asia. The economic center of gravity was shifting toward coastal trade. Political and economic reasons motivated the move. Environmental and hydraulic collapse. Recent research, particularly by University of Sydney's Greater Angkor project, has revealed that environmental and infrastructural problems contributed significantly to Angkor's decline. The hydraulic system failed. Analysis of sediments and infrastructure shows extreme floods damaged canals and reservoirs. Severe droughts reduced water availability. The system couldn't adapt to increasingly variable climate transition from medieval warm period to Little Ice Age. Sedimentation from deforestation clogged canals. Infrastructure required constant maintenance that became unsustainable. Deforestation. The landscape around Angkor was extensively deforested, trees cut for construction, fuel, and clearing farmland. Loss of forest cover increased erosion. Sediment washed into canals and reservoirs, degrading the hydraulic system. Reduced tree cover may have altered local rainfall patterns. Unsustainable intensification. The agricultural system was pushed to limits population growth, required more food production. Agriculture intensified in marginal areas. Soil degradation from overcultivation. When climate stress hit, the system couldn't absorb the shock. The climate context. The transition from the medieval warm period favorable climate to cooler, more variable conditions in the 14th-15th centuries created agricultural stress just when Angkor's environmental base was already degraded. The abandonment process. Angkor wasn't suddenly abandoned. The process was gradual. Elite and administrative functions moved to Phnom Penh. Temples continued to be maintained and used. Angkor Wat never completely abandoned. Buddhist monks continued residing there. Population declined over decades. By the 16th-17th centuries, Angkor was a religious site with small populations, not a functioning capital. The jungle progressively reclaimed structures. The rediscovery. Angkor was never completely forgotten. Local Cambodians always knew the temples existed. Buddhist monks maintained Angkor Wat continuously. The site was never truly lost. But European awareness came late. Portuguese and Spanish missionaries visited Angkor in the 16th-17th centuries and wrote descriptions, but these were little known in Europe. French colonial interest. In the 1860s, French naturalist Henri Mauhat visited Angkor and published accounts that brought it to wide European attention. Mauhat's descriptions emphasized the discovery by Europeans, ignoring that locals always knew of it. His accounts sparked European fascination and later French colonial archaeological work. French colonial archaeology. France controlled Cambodia from 1863 and undertook extensive archaeological work at Angkor. Restoration and preservation efforts, sometimes poorly executed by modern standards. Scholarly study and documentation. Unfortunately, also colonial appropriation of artifacts. Modern era. After Cambodia's independence and the devastating Khmer Rouge period, 1975-1979, international efforts have worked to preserve Angkor. UNESCO World Heritage Site designation, 1992. International archaeological and conservation collaborations. Tourism, both supporting preservation financially and threatening sites through overuse. Angkor faces continuing challenges: environmental degradation, tree roots penetrating structures, the iconic but destructive strangler figs at Tup Prom. Tropical climate causing stone erosion, flooding and water damage. Vegetation growth requiring constant clearing. Tourism pressure, over 2 million visitors annually pre-COVID. Foot traffic eroding stones. Demand for tourist infrastructure threatening surrounding areas. Looting despite protection. Theft of carvings and artifacts continues. Climate change, increasing rainfall variability and extreme weather events threaten water management and structures. Conservation philosophy debates: should ruins be fully restored, partially restored, or preserved as found? Different approaches at different temples reflect evolving conservation philosophy. First, we must define collapse. It's not complete disappearance of populations. People usually survive and continue in transformed societies. Sudden catastrophe. Most collapses are gradual processes over decades or centuries. Total loss of all cultural elements. Many traditions persist through collapse. Collapse is significant loss of political, economic, and social complexity. Decline in population and settlement size. Breakdown of centralized institutions. Loss of specialized knowledge and technologies. Decline in material standards of living. Fragmentation of previously integrated regions. Collapse is a process, not an event, and represents transformation rather than simple ending. The major collapse theories. Scholars have proposed various theories explaining societal collapse theory. 1. Environmental degradation. Jared Diamond's model. Jared Diamond's Collapse 2005 argues that societies collapse when they degrade their environmental base. The mechanism societies depend on environmental resources, soil, forests, water, etc. Populations grow and resource extraction intensifies. Environmental degradation occurs: deforestation, soil erosion, overfishing, etc. Resource base shrinks even as population remains high. Society can't feed itself and collapses. Evidence from collapsed societies. Easter Island deforestation led to societal crisis. Maya environmental degradation contributed to city abandonments. Ancestral Pueblones deforestation and erosion stressed resources. Angkor deforestation and hydraulic system degradation. Criticisms. Environmental degradation is often a symptom of collapse, not the sole cause. Many societies recognize environmental problems and adapt. Doesn't fully explain why some societies collapse while others facing similar stresses persist. Theory 2. Climate change. Brian Fagan's model. Climate change. Natural climate variability, not modern anthropogenic change, though principles apply, has been linked to many collapses. The mechanism: climate shifts, drought, cooling, warming, increased variability. Agriculture and resource availability change. Societies adapted to previous climate face stress. Food shortages, resource competition, and social stress follow. If societies can't adapt quickly enough, collapse results. Evidence: Maya collapse coincided with severe droughts 775–900 CE. Ancestral Puebloan abandonment occurred during the Great Drought 1276–1299 CE. Bronze Age collapse including Mycenaeans occurred during climate disruption. Akkadian Empire collapse. Mesopotamia, circa 2200 BCE, linked to severe drought. Criticisms: climate change alone rarely causes collapse, it's a stressor that interacts with other factors. Some societies successfully adapt to climate change. Attribution of climate as primary cause can oversimplify complex processes. Theory 3. Systems collapse. Joseph Tainter's model. Joseph Tainter's The Collapse of Complex Societies, 1988, proposes that collapse results from diminishing returns on complexity. The mechanism: societies solve problems by adding complexity, specialized roles, bureaucracy, infrastructure. Early investments in complexity bring high returns, benefits exceed costs. Over time, complexity reaches diminishing returns. Additional complexity costs more but provides less benefit. Eventually, maintaining complexity becomes too costly relative to benefits. When stressed, societies can't afford the cost of complexity and simplify collapse to less complex organization. Examples: Roman Empire became increasingly complex and expensive to maintain when economic base eroded, couldn't sustain complexity. Maya city-states built elaborate bureaucracies and monuments requiring enormous resources, when stressed, couldn't maintain them. Cahokia complex political and economic system requiring constant input, when stressed, system wasn't worth the cost. Criticisms: difficult to quantify complexity and measure returns. Doesn't explain why specific collapses occurred when they did. Some societies maintain high complexity for very long periods. Theory 4. Social conflict and warfare. Internal social conflict or external warfare can trigger collapse. The mechanism: resource stress, inequality, or other tensions create social divisions. Conflict erupts: civil war, class warfare, invasions. Violence destroys infrastructure and institutions. Social cohesion breaks down. Complexity collapses as political order fragments. Evidence: Mycenaean collapse, warfare and destructions occurred across the Bronze Age Mediterranean. Maya, evidence of increased warfare in terminal classic period. Western Roman Empire, barbarian invasions and internal conflicts contributed to collapse. Criticisms: warfare is often a symptom of stress rather than a root cause. Many societies experience warfare without collapsing. Attributing collapse solely to warfare ignores underlying vulnerabilities. Theory 5. Epidemic disease. Disease can devastate societies, especially in dense urban populations. The mechanism epidemic disease strikes, killing large percentages of population. Labor shortages follow, agriculture and economies suffer. Social institutions can't function with reduced population. Society simplifies or collapses. Evidence: late Roman Empire plague epidemics. Anton plague of Cyprian weakened the empire. Post-Columbian America's European diseases killed 90% of indigenous populations in many regions, destroying societies. Possibly Cahokia and other urban centers, though direct evidence is limited. Criticisms: hard to prove disease as primary cause in prehistoric contexts. Disease evidence rarely preserves. Societies often recover from epidemics unless other stresses prevent recovery. Theory 6. Multi-causal models. Integrated approaches. Modern scholarship favors multi-causal models, recognizing that collapses rarely have single causes. The approach: multiple stresses, environmental, climatic, social, political, economic, accumulate. Societies may handle individual stresses, but can't handle multiple simultaneous stresses. Stresses interact and amplify each other. Once collapse begins, positive feedback loops accelerate the process. The result is cascading failure. Example: Maya collapse, climate stress, drought, reduced agricultural productivity. Environmental degradation, deforestation, erosion, compounded agricultural problems. Population stress, high population meeting declining resources created competition. Social conflict, warfare between city-states increased as resources declined. Political instability, rulers losing legitimacy when they couldn't solve crises, weakened governance. Economic disruption, trade networks breaking down, removed external support. These factors fed back on each other, creating cascading collapse. This model best fits the evidence from most collapsed societies. Collapse is rarely monocausal, but results from perfect storms of interacting problems. Resilience and adaptation. Not all stressed societies collapse. Understanding what allows some to survive helps us understand collapse factors, promoting resilience, social flexibility. Societies that can reorganize and adapt to changing circumstances. Diverse resource base, reliance on multiple food sources and economic activities rather than monoculture. Distributed power systems, where power is distributed rather than highly centralized, may be more resilient. Environmental awareness. Societies that recognize environmental problems and implement conservation. External connections, trade networks and alliances can provide support during stress. Technological innovation. New technologies can solve emerging problems. Factors promoting vulnerability: overspecialization, dependence on narrow economic or environmental bases. Rigid social structures, inability to reorganize when circumstances change. Environmental degradation, destruction of resource base. Isolation, lack of external support networks. Diminishing returns, complexity that costs more than it benefits. Lessons for modern civilization. The study of past collapses offers insights for modern societies. We face similar challenges: environmental degradation, climate change, deforestation, soil loss, ocean acidification, resource stress, water scarcity, energy transitions, biodiversity loss. Population pressure in some regions. Increasing complexity with potentially diminishing returns. But we have advantages: past societies lacked scientific understanding of environmental processes. Global information networks allowing rapid response. Technological capabilities for adaptation. Ability to learn from past collapses. The question is, will we apply these advantages to avoid collapse? Or will we, like past societies, fail to respond adequately to accumulating stresses? The optimistic view: modern science, technology, and global cooperation can solve problems past societies couldn't. The pessimistic view: modern civilization is more complex and globally interconnected, making collapse potentially more catastrophic and harder to avoid. The realistic view: collapse is neither inevitable nor impossible. Outcomes depend on choices we make regarding environment, resources, social equity, and institutional adaptability. Here we pause once more in our exploration of lost civilizations. We have walked through the cliff dwellings of the ancestral pueblones, abandoned during drought and environmental stress. We have stood atop Monk's Mound at Cahokia, America's forgotten metropolis that rivaled medieval European cities. We have marveled at Angkor's magnificent temples being slowly reclaimed by jungle. And we have examined the theories scholars use to understand why civilizations collapse. As you drift towards sleep, imagine the final residents of Mesa Verde looking at their cliff dwellings one last time before migrating south, carrying what they could and leaving the stone buildings to the elements. Picture Cahokia's central plaza, once thronged with thousands during ceremonies, growing quieter each year as families moved away. See Angkor's temples, once bustling centers of worship and power, slowly being embraced by the forest's patient tendrils. These lost civilizations teach us that no human society is permanent, that environmental and social stresses can overwhelm even sophisticated cultures, but also that collapse is transformation. Rather than ending, the people continue, carrying forward elements of their culture, even as their grandest achievements are left behind. When we continue for our final section, we will reflect on what these lost civilizations mean for us today. Consider the differences between genuine lost civilizations and myths, explore how memory preserves and distorts the past, and contemplate our relationship with civilizations that rose, flourished, declined, and vanished, leaving only ruins and questions for us to ponder. But for now, rest. The abandoned cities sleep beneath jungle and sand, their stones slowly returning to earth, their stories preserved in archaeological layers waiting to be read. As we enter the final portion of our journey through lost civilizations, we must examine not just the civilizations themselves, but our relationship with them, how memory preserves and distorts, how myths emerge from historical kernels, and why the narrative of lost civilizations holds such powerful appeal across cultures and centuries. Understanding this relationship reveals as much about ourselves, our fears, desires, and cultural narratives as it does about the vanished peoples we study. Civilizations become lost through several processes, each creating different relationships between past and present. Physical burial and abandonment: cities abandoned and buried by sediment, vegetation, or sand. Angkor, Maya cities, Pompeii. Structures collapse and are covered over time. Without maintenance, nature reclaims human constructions. Sites become invisible until archaeological investigation reveals them. Loss of written records: scripts become undecipherable when knowledge is lost. Linear B, Indus script. Libraries destroyed. Alexandria, Maya codices, countless others. Writing systems abandoned and forgotten. Cuneiform, hieroglyphs until modern decipherment. Oral traditions fade as cultures transform. Cultural discontinuity: conquests or collapses break cultural transmission. New populations replace or absorb original inhabitants. Languages die, taking cultural knowledge with them. Religious and social practices abandoned. Deliberate suppression or forgetting: conquerors sometimes systematically destroy records of conquered peoples. Colonial powers erase or minimize indigenous achievements. Political regimes rewrite histories. Shameful or traumatic histories are sometimes deliberately forgotten. Geographic isolation: remote locations prevent rediscovery. Göbekli Tepe, unknown for millennia. Changing geography makes sites inaccessible. Doggerland, under the sea. Political barriers prevent investigation. Many sites in conflict zones. The result: civilizations that once flourished become fragments, ruins without context, artifacts without stories, achievements without recognition. As civilizations are lost, historical memory transforms into myth through predictable processes. Stage 1: living memory. 100 years after events, eyewitnesses and their children remember actual events. Stories are anchored in specific people, places, and circumstances. Details remain accurate though subject to individual memory biases. Stage 2: cultural memory. 500 years, direct witnesses are gone, but stories passed to grandchildren and beyond. Details begin to shift. Events are dramatized, simplified, or combined. Historical figures become heroic or villainous archetypes. Some historical kernels preserved but embellished. Stage 3: mythologization. 500+ years, specific historical details are lost or transformed beyond recognition. Stories serve cultural purposes: moral lessons, origin narratives, entertainment. Supernatural elements are added or emphasized. Multiple historical events may merge into single narratives. The boundary between history and fiction becomes blurred. Example: the Trojan War historical kernel circa 1200 BCE Bronze Age conflict involving Mycenaean Greeks and the city of Troy. Cultural memory 12 and 800 BCE oral traditions, preserving some accurate details, places, some names, general events mixed with elaborations. Mythologization 800 BCE onwards, Homer's Iliad presents gods intervening in human affairs, heroes performing superhuman feats, and events shaped to convey moral and cultural messages. Modern understanding, archaeological and textual analysis, separates historical elements from mythological embellishments, revealing Bronze Age reality beneath epic poetry. The Atlantis model Plato takes this process and reverses it. Instead of history becoming myth, he creates myth resembling history, sets his invented story in the distant past 9,000 years before his time, provides geographic and cultural details creating verisimilitude. Later readers mistake philosophical fiction for historical account. The invented story becomes treated as lost history. The lost civilization narrative, whether Atlantis, Lemuria, or misunderstood actual civilizations, appeals for deep psychological and cultural reasons. The Golden Age archetype: most cultures have myths of past Golden Ages, Eden, Satya Yuga, etc. Lost civilizations fit this archetype, a past time when things were better. Decline from Golden Age to present reflects anxiety about modernity. Imagining advanced ancient civilizations suggests we've lost wisdom or capabilities. Mystery and the unknown: humans are drawn to mysteries and unsolved puzzles. Lost civilizations represent ultimate mysteries, entire societies vanished. The possibility of discovery appeals to adventure and exploration fantasies. Lost implies potential to be found, creating narrative possibility. Alternative histories: lost civilization narratives offer alternatives to established historical accounts. Appeals to those who distrust mainstream institutions, academia, government. Allows individuals to claim special knowledge or insight. Creates space for imaginative speculation unconstrained by evidence. Cultural meaning and identity: groups sometimes claim descent from or connection to lost civilizations. Provides ancient pedigree or legitimacy. Creates cultural narratives of continuity or inheritance. Can serve nationalist or spiritual purposes. Cautionary tales: lost civilizations warn about hubris, environmental destruction, or moral corruption. Atlantis traditionally represents civilization destroyed by moral decline. Modern environmentalism uses Easter Island or Maya as cautionary examples. The narrative serves didactic purposes. Escapism and wonder: lost civilizations offer imaginative escape from mundane reality. They populate fiction, games, and entertainment. They provide sense of wonder about the past. They make history feel mysterious and exciting. While fascination with lost civilizations can motivate legitimate historical interest, mystification creates problems. Disrespect to actual peoples, attributing achievements to aliens or lost super civilizations denies credit to actual builders. Assuming ancient peoples couldn't achieve what they demonstrably achieved insults their intelligence. Mystification often has racist undertones. Non-European achievements attributed to external sources. Distortion of history: myths replace facts in popular understanding. People know Atlantis existed despite no evidence. Actual historical complexities are simplified into mystery narratives. Education and scholarship are undermined. Exploitation: commercial exploitation of mystery books, shows, tours making money from misinformation. Sacred sites treated as tourist attractions without respect for descendant communities. Artifacts looted or damaged by treasure hunters seeking lost civilizations. Misdirection of resources: energy spent searching for non-existent civilizations rather than studying real ones. Pseudo-archaeology attracts funding and attention away from legitimate research. Public confusion about what archaeology actually does. Conspiracy thinking: lost civilization theories often involve conspiracy claims. Mainstream scholars hiding evidence. Promotes distrust of expertise and evidence. Feeds into broader anti-intellectual and anti-science trends. The responsible approach: acknowledge genuine mysteries without inventing false ones. Respect actual ancient achievements without mystifying them. Credit ancient peoples with their own accomplishments. Distinguish between evidence-based history and entertaining speculation. Support descendant communities' connections to their ancestors' sites. Sometimes myths and legends do preserve historical kernels. The challenge is distinguishing preserved history from later elaboration. Flood myths and post-glacial inundation flood myths appear in many cultures worldwide. Post-glacial sea level rise 12,000–6,000 years ago flooded coastal areas globally. Some flood myths may preserve cultural memories of these events. Australian Aboriginal traditions describe now submerged coastal features. But not all flood myths need be historical. Flooding is universal human experience. The Black Sea deluge hypothesis, that Mediterranean breaching the Bosphorus around 5,600 BCE caused catastrophic Black Sea flooding, could explain Near Eastern flood myths including Noah's Ark narrative. Evidence is debated. Some support sudden flooding, others gradual filling. Demonstrates how geological events might be preserved in cultural memory. Troy and the Iliad, Homer's epics, were considered pure fiction until archaeology proved Troy existed. Schliemann's excavations 1870s found Bronze Age city at correct location. Later archaeology refined understanding Troy via circa 1200 BCE shows destruction consistent with siege. The Trojan War probably has historical basis, though Homer's account includes mythological embellishments. Historical kernel: Bronze Age conflict involving Mycenaean Greeks and Troy. Mythological elaboration: divine intervention, supernatural heroes, specific events shaped for narrative purposes. Oral traditions and deep time research on Australian Aboriginal traditions suggests some may preserve information for 10,000 plus years. Stories describing coastal features now underwater match geography from periods when sea levels were lower. Volcanic eruptions, meteorite impacts, and other events might be preserved in oral tradition. This challenges assumptions about how long oral traditions can maintain historical information. But determining which traditions preserve history versus which are later inventions remains difficult. The criteria for evaluating myth: when evaluating whether myths preserve history, look for specificity. Vague stories "Great Flood destroyed everything" are likely universal archetypes. Specific geographic details or unusual events are more likely historical. Seek corroboration: does archaeological, geological, or other evidence support the narrative? Consider plausibility: could the described events have physically occurred? Noah's Ark housing all species? No. Specific regional flooding possible? Examine transmission: how was the story transmitted? Oral traditions can preserve information but also accumulate changes. Beware confirmation bias: don't force evidence to fit myths. Evaluate evidence independently, then see if it aligns with traditions. Respect cultural context: understand myths in their cultural framework, not just as potential historical records. Archaeology itself can be seen as excavating memory, recovering what has been lost or forgotten. Material memory: objects carry memories of their makers and users, even when written records are absent. Landscape memory: ancient modifications to landscape terraces, mounds, roads preserve traces of past activities. Biological memory: DNA, isotopes in bones and teeth, and pollen in sediments preserve biological information about past populations and environments. Stratigraphic memory: layers of occupation preserve sequences of events, readable like pages in a book. Cultural memory: descendant communities often maintain knowledge, connecting them to archaeological sites, providing continuity between past and present. The archaeologist's task is recovering these memories, interpreting them carefully, and reconnecting them to the human story, transforming silent ruins back into evidence of real people's lives, achievements, and struggles. The age of discovering lost civilizations is not over. Modern technology continues revealing previously unknown sites, and regions that have been understudied are yielding astonishing finds. The 21st century has seen remarkable archaeological discoveries that are reshaping our understanding of the past. Perhaps the most transformative recent technology is LiDAR light detection and ranging, using laser pulses from aircraft to map terrain beneath forest canopy with extraordinary precision. How it works: aircraft equipped with LiDAR systems emit millions of laser pulses per second. Some pulses reflect from treetops, others penetrate gaps in foliage and reflect from the ground. Computer processing filters out vegetation, revealing bare earth topography with centimeter-level accuracy. The Maya discoveries, 2018 LiDAR survey of northern Guatemala, covering 2,100 square kilometers, revealed over 61,000 previously unknown structures. Extensive agricultural terracing and irrigation systems. Defensive fortifications around cities. Raised causeways Sakbiob connecting settlements. Evidence suggesting Maya lowland population at peak was 10–15 million, far higher than previous estimates. The implications: the Maya civilization was far more densely populated, more urbanized, and more environmentally modified than previously recognized. What seemed to be virgin jungle was actually heavily managed landscape. Angkor Wat and surroundings Cambodia, LiDAR surveys revealed the true extent of Angkor, a sprawling urban complex of approximately 1,000 square kilometers. Previously unknown temple complexes buried in jungle, sophisticated water management systems more extensive than recognized, medieval urban planning on a scale comparable to modern cities. Honduras 2012–2015 surveys revealed extensive ruins in La Mosquitia region's dense jungle. Cities that had been rumored but never confirmed. Complex societies in regions previously thought sparsely populated. LiDAR's impact: in just a few hours of aerial survey, LiDAR can reveal what would take decades of ground survey to find. It's revolutionizing archaeology in forested regions, revealing lost cities at an accelerating pace. For centuries, the Amazon was assumed to be pristine wilderness, sparsely inhabited by small, mobile groups. Recent research is overturning this view. Pre-Columbian Amazonia supported substantial populations that modified the landscape extensively. The earthworks across the Amazon basin, particularly in Brazil's Acre state, deforestation for cattle ranching has revealed hundreds of geometric earthworks, geoglyphs, ditches and banks forming squares, circles, and complex patterns, covering thousands of square kilometers. Built approximately 1500 CE, some possibly earlier. Purpose: debated ceremonial centers, defensive structures, water management, or combinations. Terra preta: black earth, highly fertile anthropogenic soil found across the Amazon, created through adding charcoal, bone, and organic waste to poor Amazonian soils. Indicates intensive, long-term occupation and sophisticated agricultural practices. Thousands of sites with terra preta, some extending for hectares. Populations may have been in the millions pre-contact. The forest itself: paleoecological studies show the Amazon is partly anthropogenic. Tree species distributions reflect ancient cultivation and management. Forest composition shows human influence going back millennia. What we thought was pristine was actually heavily managed. Post-contact collapse: European diseases carried by early explorers and their impacts devastated Amazonian populations. Estimated 90% or greater population loss in first century after contact. Survivors fled, agricultural systems collapsed. Forest reclaimed managed landscapes. By the time later Europeans explored inland, they found wilderness that had been depopulated within recent memory. The lost cities of the Amazon are being recovered. Research continues, revealing new sites. Indigenous oral traditions often preserve knowledge of ancient settlements. The full complexity of pre-Columbian Amazonia is still being understood. Since its investigation began in the 1990s, Göbekli Tepe has inspired searches for similar sites. Karahan Tepe, Turkey, similar pre-pottery Neolithic site, with T-shaped pillars and carved reliefs. Excavations ongoing. Numerous other sites in southeastern Turkey and northern Syria showing Neolithic monumental architecture are being discovered and investigated. The implication: Göbekli Tepe wasn't unique, but part of a broader cultural tradition of monumental building by pre-agricultural or early agricultural societies. This period, 10,000–8,000 BCE, was far more sophisticated than previously recognized. Recent research suggests the transition to agriculture was more complex and longer than traditional narratives suggested. Monumental architecture and social complexity preceded full agricultural dependence. The Neolithic Revolution was gradual, regionally variable, and involved sophisticated societies at all stages. Advancing underwater archaeology technology continues, revealing submerged sites. Doggerland systematic mapping using seismic surveys and cores is reconstructing this drowned landscape in detail, with potential for future underwater excavations of settlement sites. The Mediterranean, numerous ancient ports, shipwrecks, and even settlements have been found underwater. Pavloptri, Greece, submerged Bronze Age city circa 2800 BCE, mapped in detail. Heracleion and Canopus, Egypt, Ptolemaic cities submerged in Alexandria harbor, discovered and excavated since 2000. Countless shipwrecks providing time capsules of ancient trade and technology. The Black Sea, anaerobic conditions at depth preserve organic materials. Ancient shipwrecks in remarkable condition, potential for finding settlements submerged by post-glacial sea level rise. The Black Sea flood hypothesis continues being tested through underwater archaeology. Coastal archaeology worldwide. Rising seas have submerged countless ancient coastal sites, and underwater archaeology is recovering these lost landscapes. Satellite imagery and ground survey are revealing sophisticated ancient societies in what is now barren desert. The Mustatil, massive stone structures in Saudi Arabia, rectangular stone enclosures up to 600 meters long, dating to approximately 7,000–5,000 years ago. Function unknown, possibly ceremonial or ritual. Hundreds identified through satellite imagery. Ancient lake systems, when Arabia had wetter climate mid-Holocene, approximately 8,000–5,000 years ago, extensive lakes and rivers supported populations. Sites being discovered showing occupation during greener periods. Climate change transformed the region to desert, forcing abandonment. The implications: regions we think of as always barren often supported complex societies during different climate periods. As climate changes, civilizations rise in some regions and fall in others. Regions that were difficult to access during the Soviet era are now revealing their secrets. The Silk Road cities, many known from historical texts but never excavated, are being investigated. Trading centers connecting east and west. Rich archaeological remains revealing cross-cultural exchange. Cities that thrived and declined with shifting trade routes. The Scythians and other steppe peoples. Frozen tombs in Siberia and Mongolia preserving organic materials, textiles, wooden objects, even bodies, revealing sophisticated nomadic cultures, often overlooked in favor of settled civilizations. Challenging assumptions about civilized versus barbarian societies. New dating technologies. Improved dating methods are refining chronologies and revealing unexpected complexity. Radiocarbon calibration. Better calibration curves allow more precise dating, revealing that some sites are older than previously thought. Shorter or longer occupation spans than previously estimated. More precise correlation between sites across regions. Optically stimulated luminescence OSL, dating ceramics and sediments by measuring trapped electrons, extends dating beyond radiocarbons, 50,000-year limit. Provides dates for materials that can't be radiocarbon dated. Revealing earlier human presence in many regions. Ancient DNA. A DNA is revolutionizing understanding of population movements and relationships. Human migrations. DNA from ancient skeletons reveals population replacements, mixtures and movements invisible from material culture alone. That invasions were often gradual migrations and admixture. Unexpected connections between geographically distant populations. Disease DNA from pathogens in ancient remains reveals what diseases affected past populations. Origins and spread of epidemic diseases. Impact of disease on historical events. Domestication and agriculture. DNA from ancient plant and animal remains shows when and where domestication occurred. How domesticated species spread. Ancient agricultural practices and crop varieties. Archaeological discovery is accelerating. Not slowing. Technology continues improving, allowing investigation of previously inaccessible regions and extraction of information from previously studied sites using new methods. Previously understudied regions: Africa, Southeast Asia, Amazon, Central Asia, oceanic islands are receiving more archaeological attention, revealing complexity that Eurocentric archaeology previously overlooked. Descendant communities are increasingly involved in archaeology, bringing local knowledge, oral traditions, and new perspectives that enrich investigation. Interdisciplinary approaches combining archaeology with genetics, climate science, paleoecology, and other fields create richer understanding than archaeology alone. The result, the map of lost civilizations, is being filled in. Sites once unknown are being discovered, societies once forgotten are being recovered, and our picture of human history's complexity and diversity continues expanding. But vast gaps remain. Most archaeological sites have never been excavated. Many regions remain archaeologically unexplored. Sites are being destroyed by development, climate change, and conflict faster than they can be studied. Countless stories remain buried, waiting for future archaeologists to recover. As we approach the end of our journey through lost civilizations, we must ask, what do these vanished societies mean for us? What lessons do they offer? Why should we care about peoples and places long gone? The answers go beyond academic interest to fundamental questions about human nature, societal resilience, environmental limits, and our relationship with time and impermanence. Every civilization we've explored, from Atlantis mythical to the Maya, Mycenaeans, ancestral Puebloans, Cahokia, Angkor, and countless others, eventually declined, transformed, or collapsed. This universality teaches humility. No matter how powerful, wealthy, or sophisticated, civilizations are temporary. The mightiest empires eventually fall. Monuments built to last forever crumble or are swallowed by jungle. Social orders that seem eternal change or disappear. For modern civilization, this is sobering. Our technology, global economy, and interconnected systems feel permanent but are historically recent. We face environmental and social stresses, climate change, resource depletion, inequality that challenge our society's stability. Assuming our civilization is exempt from historical patterns is hubris. But impermanence isn't pure pessimism. Civilizations transform rather than simply ending. People continue, carrying forward cultural elements even as institutions change. New societies arise from the remnants of old ones. Cultural evolution continues even through collapse. The lesson: build wisely, maintain humility, and remember that what seems eternal is actually temporary. Plan for long-term sustainability rather than assuming current systems will last forever. Nearly every civilization we've examined faced environmental stresses that contributed to decline: Maya deforestation, soil erosion, drought. Ancestral Puebloans deforestation, erosion, drought. Cahokia environmental degradation, climate change. Angkor deforestation, hydraulic system degradation, climate variability. Easter Island deforestation leading to societal crisis. Mesopotamian civilizations, salinization from irrigation, climate change. The pattern is clear. Societies depend on environmental resources, and degrading those resources creates vulnerability. Some societies recognized problems and adapted. Japanese forestry management Edo period prevented deforestation crisis. Some agricultural societies maintained sustainable practices for millennia. Adaptive responses to climate change allowed some groups to survive while others collapsed. But many societies failed to respond adequately. Short-term economic incentives outweighed long-term sustainability. Elites profited from exploitation while commons suffered. Problems were recognized too late to prevent collapse. Adaptation was constrained by social, political, or technological limits. For modern civilization, we face environmental challenges on global scale: climate change, biodiversity loss, ocean acidification, etc. We have scientific understanding past societies lack, but we also have vested interests resisting change, short-term thinking in politics and economics, and global coordination problems. The question is whether we'll apply our knowledge to avoid past societies' fates. The lesson: environmental limits are real. Societies that respect those limits and manage resources sustainably have better prospects for long-term survival. Degrading the environmental base invites decline. Joseph Tainter's theory of diminishing returns on complexity applies across collapsed societies. Societies solve problems by adding complexity: bureaucracies, specialists, infrastructure, technology. Early investments bring high returns, but eventually complexity becomes costly to maintain relative to benefits. Examples: Roman Empire's elaborate administrative and military systems became unsustainably expensive. Maya elite systems requiring enormous resources for monuments and bureaucracy. Modern societies with complex technological, economic, and governmental systems requiring constant inputs to maintain. The risk when stressed: complex systems may not be worth their maintenance costs. Collapse to simpler organization may be economically rational even if it reduces total societal output. But complexity also brings benefits: problem-solving capacity, resilience through redundancy and diverse capabilities, higher standards of living when sustainable. The challenge: maintaining complexity that provides genuine benefits while avoiding complexity that costs more than it returns. This requires constant evaluation and adaptation. The lesson: complexity should be purposeful and sustainable. Adding complexity: regulation, technology, specialization should solve problems effectively, not just create bureaucratic expansion. When complexity becomes burdensome, simplification may be necessary. Societies surviving stresses often have social trust and cooperation, mechanisms for conflict resolution, shared identity and values, leadership perceived as legitimate, systems perceived as fair or at least tolerable. Societies that collapsed often showed increasing inequality, creating social divisions, breakdown of trust between groups, loss of elite legitimacy when they couldn't solve crises, internal conflict diverting resources from problem solving, fragmentation of previously unified regions. Examples: late Maya city-states engaged in destructive warfare rather than cooperation. Late Roman Empire split between East and West, then fragmented further. Mycenaean kingdoms may have fought each other rather than facing common threats. The social dimension is often as important as environmental or economic factors. Societies need not just resources but social capital, the trust, cooperation, and institutions that allow collective action. For modern societies, increasing polarization, inequality, and loss of trust in institutions are warning signs. Social cohesion is necessary for addressing collective challenges like climate change. Building and maintaining social capital should be a priority. The lesson: social cohesion is a resource as important as material resources. Societies must invest in trust, fairness, and shared purpose, not just economic growth or technological advancement. The ease with which civilizations can be forgotten: the Indus Valley unknown until the 1920s, Cahokia overlooked for centuries, Axum marginalized in standard histories shows how fragile cultural memory is. Knowledge can be lost through destruction of written records, death of languages and oral traditions, cultural disruption from conquest, disease, or collapse, deliberate suppression by conquerors, simple neglect and lack of preservation. Once lost, recovery is difficult. Undeciphered scripts may never be read. Sites buried or destroyed can't be excavated. Cultural knowledge once gone may be irrecoverable. But memory also shows resilience. Oral traditions can preserve information for millennia. Descendant communities maintain connections to ancestral sites. Cultural practices continue even through dramatic changes. Archaeology can recover material memory from ruins. The importance of preservation: libraries, archives, and museums preserve knowledge across generations. Multiple copies and distributed storage protect against single points of failure. Cultural institutions, universities, research centers maintain continuity. Descendant community connections preserve living memory. For modern civilization, digital information is both more preservable, easy copying, and more fragile, format obsolescence, storage medium decay than traditional records. Cultural diversity preservation matters. Each lost language or tradition represents irreplaceable knowledge. Historical consciousness, awareness of how past societies rose and fell, provides perspective. The lesson: preserve knowledge actively. Don't assume current understanding will automatically pass to future generations. Invest in libraries, education, cultural preservation, and institutional continuity. Value diversity of knowledge and approaches. Many collapsed civilizations were technologically sophisticated for their time. Maya astronomy and mathematics rivaled contemporary European knowledge. Roman engineering created structures lasting millennia. Khmer hydraulic engineering was extraordinarily sophisticated. Ancestral pueblones achieved remarkable architecture with limited tools. Yet technological sophistication didn't prevent collapse. Environmental degradation occurred despite knowledge of consequences. Social problems weren't solved despite organizational capability. Climate change couldn't be prevented or adequately adapted to. The disconnect societies can be brilliant in some domains: astronomy, engineering, art, while failing in others: sustainability, equity, adaptation. For modern civilization, we have unprecedented technological capability, but we're failing to adequately address climate change, inequality, biodiversity loss. Technology alone doesn't solve problems. Political will, social organization, and values matter as much. The lesson: don't confuse technological advancement with overall wisdom or guaranteed survival. Technology is a tool, but using it wisely requires social, political, and ethical progress as well. Not all stressed societies collapse. Some adapt successfully. Iceland survived medieval climate cooling through social adaptation and resource management, maintaining continuous occupation since settlement despite harsh environment. Japan addressed deforestation crisis in Edo period through forestry management, sustaining substantial population on limited resources. Many indigenous societies maintained sustainable practices for millennia through traditional ecological knowledge and social institutions. The factors enabling adaptation: recognizing problems early, having institutions capable of collective action, flexibility to change practices and social organization, knowledge of environment and sustainable practices, social cohesion enabling cooperation. For modern civilization, adaptation is possible if we choose it. We have scientific understanding, technological tools, and global communication. The question is whether we'll use these capabilities effectively. The lesson: collapse isn't inevitable. Societies can adapt to environmental and social stresses if they recognize problems, have capable institutions, and take collective action. But adaptation requires deliberate effort and sometimes difficult changes. The civilizations we've explored remind us that our society is one chapter in a much longer human story. Humans have been creating complex societies for over 10,000 years, Göbekli Tepe and earlier. Countless civilizations have risen and fallen, each contributing to human cultural evolution. We stand on foundations built by societies going back millennia. Agricultural knowledge developed over thousands of years. Mathematical and astronomical insights accumulated across civilizations. Philosophical and ethical traditions with ancient roots. Art, literature, and cultural practices inherited and transformed. Our achievements will someday be past civilizations for future peoples to study, just as we study the Maya, Romans, and others. This perspective encourages humility about our place in history, appreciation for what previous generations achieved and preserved, responsibility to future generations. We are custodians, not final inheritors, understanding that we're part of an ongoing story, not the conclusion. The lesson: think in terms of deep time. Consider how our actions affect not just the next election or quarter, but the next century or millennium. We inherit from the past and pass on to the future. Act accordingly. And so we come to the end of our long journey through lost civilizations. We have examined Atlantis, the most famous lost civilization that never existed as a physical place, yet captures imagination 2,300 years after Plato invented it. We have explored the genuinely lost Indus Valley, its cities buried and its script still undeciphered. We have traced the Maya abandonment of great cities to jungle, the Mycenaean palaces destroyed in the Bronze Age collapse, and the forgotten African empire of Axum. We have discovered Doggerland beneath the North Sea, a real lost land drowned by rising seas. We have walked through Cahokia, America's metropolis, that rivaled medieval European cities, yet remains virtually unknown. We have marveled at Angkor's temples being slowly embraced by forest. We have stood among the ancestral Puebloan cliff dwellings, abandoned during drought and environmental stress. We have exposed Lemuria and Mu as phantom continents, scientific hypotheses misunderstood and mystified, despite geological proof they never existed. We have explored Göbekli Tepe, challenging assumptions about pre-agricultural societies' capabilities. And we have reflected on patterns of collapse, the transformation of history into myth, ongoing archaeological discoveries, and what these vanished worlds teach us about ourselves. We have learned that civilizations are temporary. Every society, no matter how powerful or sophisticated, eventually transforms or declines. The monuments built to last forever crumble, the empires that seem eternal fragment, the social orders that appear permanent change. We have learned that environmental limits are real, and that societies degrading their resource base invite collapse. We have seen this pattern repeated across time and space, from Maya forests to ancestral paw-blown canyons to Angkor's hydraulic systems. We have learned that complexity has costs, that social cohesion matters as much as material resources, and that technological sophistication doesn't guarantee wisdom or survival. We have learned that memory is fragile, that civilizations can be forgotten, knowledge lost, and entire societies erased from historical consciousness until archaeology recovers them. But we have also learned that adaptation is possible, that some societies successfully navigate stresses that destroy others, and that resilience comes from flexibility, knowledge, and social cooperation. As we reflect on lost civilizations, we should maintain both wonder at their achievements and humility about our own wonder at what ancient peoples accomplished building massive monuments with limited technology, developing sophisticated astronomy without telescopes, creating complex societies without modern communication, achieving architectural and artistic brilliance that endures millennia. Humility, recognizing that these achievements came from people as intelligent as us, working within their constraints. Our own civilization faces similar challenges and shows similar vulnerabilities. We're not immune to the patterns that affected past societies. Future generations may look at our ruins with the same mixture of admiration and puzzlement. Understanding lost civilizations creates responsibility. To the past, we should respect ancient people's actual achievements without mystifying them. Credit them with their own accomplishments, not aliens or lost super-civilizations. Preserve and protect archaeological sites as irreplaceable heritage. Honor descendant communities' connections to their ancestors' sites. To the present, we should learn from past successes and failures. Apply historical lessons to contemporary challenges. Value archaeology and history as sources of insight, not just entertainment. Support preservation of knowledge, cultural diversity, and institutional continuity. To the future, we should build societies that can endure, not just grow rapidly. Consider long-term sustainability over short-term gain. Preserve knowledge and culture for future generations. Act as responsible ancestors, not reckless consumers. The lost civilizations we've explored are not truly lost, they're part of the continuing human story. The Maya didn't disappear, they transformed. Millions of Maya speakers maintain cultural traditions with roots extending back millennia. The abandoned cities are ancestral sites, not alien mysteries. The ancestral pueblones migrated and reorganized but didn't vanish. Modern Pueblo peoples are their direct descendants, maintaining cultural continuity through transformation. The Mycenaeans fell, but Greek culture continued, transformed, and eventually flourished again in the classical period. Cultural memory preserved in Homer's epics kept their story alive. Even completely collapsed societies contributed to the human story. Through genetic legacy, populations rarely disappear, they disperse and mix. Cultural elements that persist in modified form. Lessons preserved in archaeology and history. The monuments and artifacts they left behind. We are all inheritors of countless civilizations' achievements and tragedies. Our languages, crops, technologies, philosophies, and cultural practices derive from thousands of years of human creativity and adaptation, and we are all potential ancestors whose choices will shape the world our descendants inherit. As you drift towards sleep, carrying with you images and knowledge from our journey, reflect on this. The pyramid still stands at Giza, though its builder's civilization transformed into something they wouldn't recognize. The stones of Stonehenge still mark the solstices, though the people who raised them are long gone. The temples of Angkor are slowly being reclaimed by jungle, yet they testify to human capability and ambition. The cliff dwellings at Mesa Verde are empty, but the people who built them live on in their descendants. Every civilization is lost, eventually. What we build doesn't last forever. What seems permanent is temporary. Power fades, monuments crumble, and even the mightiest empires become archaeological sites for future peoples to puzzle over. But this impermanence doesn't make civilization meaningless. We create meaning through building, learning, cooperating, and passing on knowledge and culture to the next generation. The Maya cities served their purpose for centuries before abandonment. The pyramids fulfilled their function as royal tombs and symbols of divine power. Cahokia's mounds were gathering places for thousands before the city dispersed. What matters is not whether our creations last forever, they won't, but whether we live wisely while we're here, building sustainably, treating each other justly, preserving knowledge, and leaving a world our descendants can inhabit and enjoy. The lost civilizations teach us that we are part of a longer story, that our moment is temporary, and that what we do with our time matters not because it will last forever, but because we're responsible to the past that gave us this moment, and to the future that will inherit what we leave behind. Sleep peacefully, knowing that human creativity and capability persist across millennia. Societies rise and fall, but the human story continues. We learn from the past, live in the present, and build for the future. The civilizations that came before us left lessons we can learn from. What we build, create, and preserve contributes to the ongoing human story. Tomorrow, the lost civilizations remain lost, some beneath jungle and sand, others beneath ocean waves, still others beneath modern cities. But they're not forgotten. Archaeology continues recovering their stories. Descendant communities maintain living connections. And we, by studying them, keep their memory alive while learning lessons that might help our own civilization endure a little longer, adapt a little better, and leave a legacy worth inheriting. The stones remember. The ruins speak to those who listen. The lost civilizations are still teaching, still inspiring, still warning us about hubris and environmental limits, still demonstrating what humans can achieve and what makes societies vulnerable. Let their stories inform our choices, humble our certainties, inspire our creativity, and remind us that we too are building civilizations that future archaeologists may one day excavate and puzzle over, wondering at our achievements and our failures, our wisdom and our follies. Rest now in the knowledge that the human story is larger than any individual civilization, longer than any empire, and more enduring than any monument. We are all chapters in that story, the lost civilizations that came before, ourselves in the present, and the societies yet to come.